Hey everybody, welcome back to the Gamers Lounge podcast. My name is John Meadows. With me as always, Daniel, Dennis, and Eric. How's it going, guys?
It's
Going
good.
good.
Hello.
Good. It's only been a little over a month since we've had a show.
1,100 years.
Yeah. Well, that was my fault. I was, I've had a lot of work out of town for the past, I don't know, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that. So
We've sent people to Mars since the last time.
feels that way. It really does. It really feels that way. It feels like it's been that long since, we've we've had a show that I feel like that it is it's been we've colonized 3 or 4 different planets since
That's right.
since we've had a show. So
There you go.
that's okay. It usually happens around the holidays. Usually it doesn't. Usually it's between the Thanksgiving and Christmas is when we don't have shows. But when you got to work out of town, you got to work out of town. So you do what you got to do sometimes. But that's okay. That's okay. That's all right. It's fine. We're here again. We're all back here. Everything's normal. So at least for this week anyway. so we'll start off with like we always do with what we've been playing, what we've been doing. Golly, a lot of us all have the same games. I guess Dennis, why don't you start and we can kind of chime in on
Yeah.
what to wear.
Yeah, of course. Well, I guess what did I beat recently? Oh yeah, so the last couple of days, and I didn't mean to pick this up. I found a way to get it cheaply, which it basically ended up getting and beating Jedi Fallen Order. And I was expecting it to be good. I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was, though. That's the thing. Like I didn't even really go in. I wasn't like cautiously optimistic or anything. I knew it was going to be a good game, but I didn't realize like at the end I was like actually blown away. Where I was like, oh my god, like this is. I think hands down one of the best games come out this year. It would be on my personal top 10 for this year anyways. And I was genuinely blown away by it. The whole progression of it was fantastic. It was really well paced. It was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. Also, Respawn so far has made some really good games, whether they've clicked with you or not, you can't help but respect them, and they've done nothing but great work this generation. But coming off of Titanfall 2, I mean they've been working on Apex, but like coming off of Titanfall 2, the campaign in that game was like 5 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost beat it in one sitting. Just about. Right. I probably could if I wasn't so tired. So I was expecting more than 5 hours, but I wasn't expecting more than like 8 or 9 hours. I got a solid like 16 hours, 17, closer to 20.
That's what I'd heard.
Yeah. And I was genuinely happy with it. I know from the outside looking in, or at first glance, a lot of people were just like, oh, it's Star Wars. I'm sorry, it's Dark Souls with a Star Wars skin on it, basically, But it's really not. It's really kind of not. It plays
from a lot of different games. It's not just
it
one.
really does.
Right. And it does it very, very well. Like the combination of everything it does take inspirations from, I think anyways, were really good. I mean, it felt good to play. The combat was, as good as it was gonna be. I was happy that it was faster than any of the Souls games. It with the 10-second animations to swing a sword. Because I'm someone who likes to come from I come from a hack and slash background, so I need things quick and flashy,
right.
Versus just like I'm not basically fencing is essentially what that is, so I don't want to do fencing. I want to go in. I want to feel like John Wick, or like Yip Man, just going all over the place. So
what difficulty did you play on? Out of curiosity.
I played on. Which ones did they have? Just Jedi Knight, whichever one the normal mode, the equivalent of normal mode was.
Because there's like 4 different ones.
Right.
Yeah. There's story mode if you really just want to go in for the story. There's Jedi Knight. There's
Jedi Master and then Grandmaster.
Yeah,
or something.
Grandmaster. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And the cool thing about each difficulty was that they actually tell you what the difference is. Most difficulties don't tell you what the difference is.
No,
It's just
like enemies are harder, have more life. We'll do
exactly.
this.
Yeah, but it actually told you, it was just like, okay, you're going to take this much more damage. You're going to take, if you're going to parry, you got to be like this precise. It gets
there's
down
like
into
3 categories, and it's all like kind of a little graph, like a progress bar.
Enjoy the
that's
story
showing
and hack enemies to death. Very
Yeah.
easy. That would be the mode I would play.
Right. And it was, there's 3 bars. There's one that tells you how specific you need to be with your parries, how enemy aggression, and how much damage you're going to take, incoming damage, basically. So that's really nice, because most difficulties, they just kind of tell you, hey, it's easy, medium, hard, with no real distinction about what really makes each level.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah. A lot of the times it's not even smarter AI. It's just like people will one-shot you. That's it. That's usually most of the time. So, but yeah, no, I thought what it did well, and I was really happy with. I'm a big Tomb Raider fan, so I got a lot of Tomb Raider vibes from it. Actually, going between, all the they literally call them tombs. All the tombs that you go from each planet, and they're so well designed and incredibly deep and elaborate, and the detail in every single one of them is just fantastic, and they're so distinct from each other. And I mean, from a pure like environmental design perspective, I mean, that game was just absolutely like brilliant. And but yeah, by the end of it, I was blown away. I was like, Jesus, that's like, I expected it to be good, but that was like unbelievable to me. But yeah, got that, and the reason why I ended up getting that was because I ended up getting, and when I say getting, I put it in quotations, because I ended up just getting or paying for the Origin Access Premiere. So it's $15 a month on PC, and I was like, well, I'm not going to spend $60 on Need for Speed and Star Wars when I'm just going to play it, beat it once, and then probably won't think about it ever again. If I do get the itch again, then okay, I'll find a way to play it again. But I did want to get them, and I didn't realize how badly I wanted to play Star Wars until we got closer and closer to release, because like before, because like before then I was just like, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but I'll wait out on it. Incorrect, can't wait out on it. Had to play. So
and that's why I went ahead and pre-ordered it, because I knew I'd want to play it when it come out. Of course, I haven't had time to play it. I think I've sat down and played the opening, and then got off did the first planet, and that's as far as I've gotten in it. So I haven't had
a little bit into it.
It was enough into it to go, okay, yep, this is really good, and I playing it on story. I didn't want frustration, and I didn't want.
Yeah, I thought about playing it on story, but then I was just like, no, because I don't want you to just like hand me things. So like
hand me the enemies.
Right. So like, but even Jedi Knight was like kicking my ass, man. Like, I mean, it was pretty rough.
I've beaten it. I played it on Jedi Knight, and I thought it was perfect, except for a few spots where they just needed to tweak the difficulty spike a little bit, because you're going along, you're like, okay, I've got kind of the level of difficulty that I know it's going to happen. I know how to handle these types of enemies, and then something will show up, and it'll just be like, wait, why is that so difficult all of a sudden?
Well, let me ask you this then, because I feel like because with the moment you said that, I started thinking of one boss in particular. I've already forgotten his name, but the guy who I thought was pretty much the Star Wars version of the Stranger from God of War. the other.
That one is not the frustrating boss fight in that game.
Oh, okay. That one was just
everything in the game. Like it was a slight like frustration a little bit. I think I had to play him like 2 or 3 times to beat him, and it wasn't that difficult. It was just more about like, okay, I know what his moves are going to be now. Like, anything.
It was very trial and error with him. Yeah.
The very last actual boss fight, not the gimmick or the closing.
Okay.
After that, but the last boss fight, that's kind of like thing that they chain out through the game. So you fight this person a couple times, and then like story reasons they take you out. But at the end of the game, it's like the real fight.
Yeah.
It's the cheapest, most annoying boss fight that I have played in a long time, and it's not necessarily because of the way the boss you're fighting, what they do, except for one thing, is more that the mechanics fail, because it puts so much priority on like animations in the game, the way the system is, and you can't cancel out of them a lot of times, but it's not in the same way that say like Dark Souls does it. It's more like we want it to look pretty and flashy, but we don't want it to skip any animation frames, so that you can just block whenever you hit the block button, or you get stun locked so much in that fight, and it's really, really annoying. and then you finally whittle them down to that past half health, and they get more moves, which includes, hey, I just suddenly have flashbangs now for no reason. And it's this character that you're fighting is got so many really fast moves, and you have to watch what the windups are so that you can, counter them, know what they're doing. So in order to not get blinded, you have to see that they've dropped it, unlock your camera from them, turn around, hope they don't kill you, wait for the flashbang to go off, turn around and try and lock on them again. And that's just like, you're not going to do that. So then you're blind and you're trying to like block wildly, and then like, oh, you get stun locked into a like combo that you're instantly dead. Or like they have this one powerful move that's kind of like a lunge, and they like grab you, and I got teleported into that move. Like they suck like 3/4 of your life away at least if you have a full bar from this thing. I got teleported into that grab while I was dodge rolling away so many times. I was so frustrated by it.
Yeah, that didn't happen to me, but one move
like
in particular.
One time in the game that it was like that, like they were trying to make a boss fight that goes to, as precise as like Sekiro earlier this year, which is a very good comparison because of the parry system in the games are very similar, and they just don't have the precision and tightness in the controls in this game to really make it work. And so it's just kind of like, oh man, you're almost there. With some tweaking, it would be like really perfect. But the only other frustrations I had in the game were sometimes with crowd control, because you're like, the way that the stupid system also works is like they have their poise meter that like if you parry them correctly, it'll take a chunk of it, or if you just like keep hitting it, will take some chunks out of it. And then when it goes away, they're kind of like semi-stunned, or their defenses are down, so you can actually hit them. You hit them once, it's fully up no matter what. So you could have them, you're in the middle of like an animation of like one of your flashy combos that does like all this cool like multiple hit things. Only one of those count, and you're stuck in it, and it's just like, well, what's the point? So it's just kind of like, there's a few things about it that I wish they did a little bit differently, but overall it's still really, really fun.
Oh yeah,
all the force powers combined with using lightsaber stuff is like, all the moves that you unlock throughout the game is like really, really fun to do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it was perfect. It definitely had its flaws, and God knows I had my own frustrations. But yeah, no, I was just so amazed by the environmental design. It was just so, everything was so beautiful to look at for me. And but regarding that last boss fight, the one move for some reason I could never get out of was because, like you said, about you can't really cancel out of any animations really. So, whenever you're trying to be like, BD, I need a stim pack, and I'd be like in the middle of that because God knows I was getting my ass beat. And there was that one move where it would basically bring out a shockwave, right? They would hit the ground and then bring out a shockwave. And every time I would try to jump, but it was either not on time because I was mid animation of doing something, or even when I did jump, it was too high where the hitbox would still.
I got really good at recognizing it, and still, like, it has another move that they do. The beginning is similar, except this one she does like a weird side flip jump or something into it. Yeah. And then it like doesn't even look that big, and then suddenly this big old force shockwave comes out, and like you can jump over it. Except there's this cool part later in the fight where they have the protocol droids, or like the droids from Empire at the very beginning, one of those kinds of droids. Yeah. I got shot by one in mid-jump. It stunned me with its little bolt, so my feet were still hanging down, and I still got hit by the shockwave, even though I timed it perfectly. I was like, "Oh, come on!"
So
you can't block midair. Like, even if you hit block, it doesn't matter. Like, come on.
That's the type of stuff where I worry. I'm just like, I think I'm gonna get an aneurysm here. This will be the one.
But I was like, I've made it through this game on this difficulty so far. I will do it, and I finally eventually did.
Right.
But the game is really, really good at nailing, that Star Wars feeling, just as far as like the music is great. The environments have like a really nice kind of Star Warsy feel to them. All of like the ships and corridors and things. You're not outside in like the middle of nowhere in a planet where you're not in ruins or whatever. If you're in a ship or something, it looks like old school Star Wars. But it also pulls in some of the feel from all the other stuff. It does a good job of combining everything that has Star Wars has been to this point and doing kind of its own thing, playing in the toy box with all the stuff. There's really, really, really great characters in this game.
It really is.
Every single one, all of like the crewmates that you have. Your BD1, your little robot, is like really cool.
That little pilot dude cracks me up. I mean,
The
he's
pilot is great.
Yeah.
The backstory for the other person is great. You get another crew member late in the game, and they're probably my favorite character in the whole game just because
They're
of
amazing.
where they come from
yeah.
and their background. And then they leave at the end of the game. Like the very beginning and the very end of the game have these really great kind of bombastic uncharted sequences
Mm-hmm.
where and then there's a few more in the middle of the game
Mm.
too, but like the beginning and the end are particularly very well done where you're just like, this is so cool, like the whole time you're playing it.
Yeah. I mean, first
And
it
then
was,
they end it and I'm like, I want to play more, I want more story with these characters right now. So
Yeah.
they did a really great job of nailing you, like really wanting to continue playing in this
were they
world.
gonna do
all
any
my planets are
DLC
like,
or do you
I don't know. All
I
my
don't think
planets are
so.
like 90-something%, so I don't have very many hidden things to find, and I don't really care because they're all useless, stupid junk. They have all these chests that all you get is like, oh, you have a new lightsaber material. You have a new poncho material. Well, great. I hid the poncho because it looks stupid.
Yeah.
I'm just in my jacket
Yeah.
because it looks way cooler than the poncho.
The right color.
The premium content wasn't that special either because Origin Access immediately gives you the deluxe edition of whatever they have available.
Nice.
And it was just orange versions of everything.
No,
It
it's
was
all
you
like
get an
cosmetic
orange
stuff.
saber.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it was. You get now you can turn your ship orange.
Yeah.
BD was very much a yellow that was like, okay, you're sponsored by Corsair. I've seen this before.
And that was
and-
why I didn't get the deluxe version. It just didn't
I
look
changed
like
the
it
skin
was.
of the ship and I changed the skin of like BD1, and then otherwise it's in my default like jacket color with the poncho hidden, so you can see all the cool buckles and detail that are just like covered up when you're wearing the poncho. You're like, that's
Mhm.
like, come on.
Yeah, the ponchos.
It looks very
were-
much like Luke's flight suit or something in that vein is kind of what the character is wearing, and then they just throw a big, giant poncho over the top of it. And it's like a couple times in the story they automatically put it back on. I'm like, no, hide that, take that back off.
Right.
But I ended up picking a cool skin for BD1 that was like a little like black with like pink stripe, like racing stripe on it. And
Oh,
the
that's
thing that I liked about it is it gave them different color for each eye. Was a different like paint color. So one was like dark and one was like pink around
That's
the
awesome.
edge of it, and it gave him a little bit even more quirky look than he already has because of them being different anyway from like different camera lenses or whatever it is. So
Right.
I stuck with those like the entire game. I'd get something new. I was like, yeah, look at it. Nah, it's not as good.
Yeah, I mean, just from what little bit I played of it, it seems like it does a really good job of. It starts out feeling like Uncharted, and then it kind of goes into feeling like Tomb Raider, and then it kind of goes into a Dark Souls mode, and then it kind of meshes all these
Yeah, like,
together.
the
and it's,
combat is very Sekiro, except not anywhere near as polished and like tight
Right.
and good, and
Yeah.
not trying to be that as difficult, even on the higher difficulty level as that game was. It's a lot more mainstream, but it's still similar in that like poise meters, and it's a lot more about like blocking and timing that way versus just like, hey, hit the attack button with your lightsaber the whole time. You can kind of do that on some enemies, and some enemies you can't. So it depends on what you're up against.
Right.
And then you definitely have your Uncharted big sequences. There's even literally like the beginning of the game is almost like the Uncharted train sequence.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
For a
exactly
bit.
what I thought
Like,
of.
hey, I know what inspired them for this one.
Yeah, this feels
And then
familiar.
you've got a lot of the map, especially, is very Metroidy in the way that it's like, hey, this door is red, means you can't go through it till you get a new ability or gear or whatever. So you get new force abilities, you get some new gear that helps you, and then you also get gear that BD1 can do new stuff too throughout the game. So it kind of spread out your different abilities.
Yeah,
It's really good. It's a lot of fun.
yeah, it is. I need to play it more. Hopefully this weekend.
I wish that I see why they didn't. I wish they rearranged the story a little bit. I don't know how they could have done it, but in order to get more lightsaber colors, because you only could do blue or green for the longest time, but they do let you get more colors eventually. I was
Yeah.
like, man, I wish I'd had this the whole game. Or
And
at
then
least
there's
close to it.
what is there? There's a dual, like Darth Maul lightsaber too, a dual bladed
You get that
lightsaber.
pretty early on.
Do you?
Yeah.
See,
Yeah, that one's meant for like, according to them, that's made for more crowd control. But
It does help
They're all
some
about the
because you
same.
just get incidental hits behind you when you're swinging two blades around, so it does help, but they do less damage individually, which is weird.
Right.
But as a kind of game balance wise, the one good thing that they're really good at is if you have a lot of ranged guys or range guys that have a lot of like the ones that have the big light machine gun type things that shoot a bunch of things at you at once. If you use the double saber and you parry it right, it's every bolt goes straight back to the guy you deflected at. It's not just the first one like your super saber. So when you're like trying to get those guys up there while fighting some guys down here, you're like, I can get you real quick, and it works better with the big double.
And God knows they're everywhere. I can't tell you how many times like I've been like. Sometimes it can get overwhelming, where it's just like you're trying to handle like what's in front of you, and then all of a sudden just the shot that comes out of nowhere from behind you. Like, okay,
I didn't have that much trouble with that because the ranged guys don't do that much damage for the most part. And once you get the upgrade where you deflect automatically when you're sprinting around with the way I was playing,
I got that.
Like,
Absolutely. Yeah, the moment they gave me that option, I was just like, that's getting got for sure.
I'm in.
It's like, yeah, all right. It looks cool though too, to just like, I'll just run around and let them shoot stuff at me, and I'm just like parrying it.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a matter of damage for me. It was just a matter of just like being, like we were talking about earlier, just mid animation, and nothing you can do.
There's like lots of stuff going on. It's like, I don't need that one other thing. Stop shooting at me.
Right.
I did also find it one thing that the game is not really as good at with the way that it is on the system is all the creatures. Fighting them, like the smaller creatures are okay, but like any medium to big size creatures in the game are not meant to be fought with a lightsaber.
No, it didn't seem that way. What ones, the medium sized ones that I fought were like, I was like, this doesn't seem. It seems like I should have had a gun or a rifle.
There's these weird goat ones that for a while kept knocking me over that I didn't like. I was like, I can't freaking figure out your timing, but once I did, I was like, all right, it's whatever. I'll just avoid you or kill you. It's fine. They're just kind of there, I think, so there's more stuff for you to fight with your lightsaber, and creatures you can chop in half. Yay!
Chopping in half. Gotta love to chop them in half.
Can't do that to stormtroopers.
No, can't.
That's fine. It doesn't bug me, but a lot of people are seem to be complaining about that for some reason.
Why can't I
There's
cut
guys,
off
it's still fun.
Yeah, it still looks good.
Yeah,
it looks really good. I was disappointed when I first started the game at how quote bad it looked to me, but that's because I was coming off of Red Dead Redemption 2 on PC, and that's a jarring experience. It could look really great, and it's still next to Red Dead Redemption 2 on PC, just okay, no. That game has an insane amount of detail, so you're just gonna have to work for another 15 years on your game to make it look as good as that.
Yeah.
So what else have you played, Dennis? Besides, I guess you played Death Stranding, right?
Oh my God, yeah, I beat it.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, I saw those credits roll. So,
and when you came out on the other side, did you understand what was going on?
I did actually. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I did actually, believe it or not. Yeah, it's not as convoluted as you would expect. It looks like one of it. So I've started to understand how Kojima does his marketing now, and he's very much exactly like J.J. Abrams, where you'll see a trailer and be like, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. I don't know what this is. And then you go in still you're fascinated by the imagery, and that's why you're drawn in. Because there's no story there to pull you in, because you don't understand what's going on, but you're curious enough where you're just I have to see though. I want to try to make sense of it. And then, J.J. Abrams always has these crazy reveals by the end, and it's just no matter what he's doing, even when he did Star Wars, it was just okay. It still felt like a Star Wars film, but I was I can smell the J.J. Abrams on all of this, so it's very much like that, where it's just if you're a big fan of sci-fi, even though you don't understand what's going on when you first view a trailer, similar to J.J. Abrams, you're kind of drawn in by the imagery and by the cinematography. So you want to go in and try to figure out what exactly is going on. Now, there are certain points where I was just, right away, they just start throwing big words at you in terms where it's just okay, you can't just start throwing in things about dooms without explaining, because it's all in all caps, mind you. So it stands for something, DOOM. They
Yeah.
each all stand for something. It's like, okay, like that was within the first 5 minutes of the game. I was like, I don't know what these stand for. You're telling me I got dooms? I'm someone who holds doom agents in my bloodstream, and like I don't know what we're talking about. And
I played that game in the '90s. What are we talking about? Doom.
I
It's like,
I just
hey, I'm
assumed.
Solid Snake. What? There's a secret the whole time.
And then Fragile like comes in, and then she's like, so what level are you? It's like, you can see them, right? And he goes, like, Sam goes, no, I can only sense them. And she goes, okay, you're level 2. And I was like, hold on, so we have this like categorized now. We have this whole BT's sensory thing categorized, and there's just a lot of things they throw at you. Like, mind you, this is all within the first 5 minutes of the game. So, and like, you don't really understand the terminology until like way, way, way later. And to be fair, when it comes to dooms in particular, I still don't really quite understand like what purpose they serve in terms of like powers and abilities and stuff like that. But that was really the only thing I had trouble with, was the whole dooms aspect of it. Thankfully, you don't mention it too much, but it was one of those things where they just throw this terminology at you right away with the BTs. And then, like, if you're not familiar with what BTs stand for, I found out they were beached things like long before the game came out, but a lot of people still don't know that. And like, you don't really realize that they're called, BT stand for beach to things, until like hours and hours and hours into it. And it's just like, that's one of the things I mean, where it's just like, all that terminology where you're just confused, and it's like, am I supposed to remember this? Like, is this going to come? I hope I don't, I don't know if knowing Kojima, there could be a pop quiz that shows up on the screen all of a sudden,
Yeah.
that's labeled as a boss fight. But yeah, it took me, let me see, I think by the end of it, roughly, I think my playtime, or my save data playtime, was around 52 hours by the time the credits started rolling.
Wow.
And yes, it's a long game, but honestly, I also took it, I played it at my leisure, and I was getting tracked a lot, doing a lot of side quests. And I think if I wasn't so, if I wasn't one of those people that's just like, oh, well, there's I can grab that real quick and take it over there, and drop that package off for them, and then go over there, drop it over there, just to kind of get some some more like materials and whatnot, because they don't do, weird, it feels like an RPG, but they don't do experience points in there. It's like the way you kind of learn and grow is through the items that you acquire through the deliveries that you make, and then you get new materials, you get scraps, you get certain chemicals, certain things that can help you build and manufacture bigger and better things. And so that's how you kind of unlock newer things later and later in the game. So you grow by the deliveries that you make. There's no, like, you're not like level 5 or anything like that. You don't go up to level 15 all of a sudden, it's nothing like that. Your kind of determination in you reconnecting, all the distribution centers and effectively America as a whole by the end of the game, really does impact your kind of experience with playing it, and it does reward you in the more that you do. And it's really interesting how Death Stranding really does kind of end up, you do feel that sense of, it sounds corny, but you do feel that sense of connection as you're playing, because as you build down roads, as you build down bridges, as you set down ladders and whatnot, you don't see other players in the overworld. It's not like an MMO or anything like that, but you'll set down a bridge, and I've set down plenty, or or use somebody else's, and they're all in these locations where you can set these things anywhere. There's not preset locations where it's just like, okay, no, you can only set this timefall shelter here, right? Timefall shelter being, if it's raining, if you see, that they call the rain the timefall, basically, of things that accelerate your aging and destroy your cargo and whatnot. So you can set down a shelter. Now, it does cost a lot of resources, but you can put them anywhere. There's no set locations where just for the sake of balance or anything like that. The world is literally at your disposal. So but there's so many great places in which I've seen other players put stuff where I'm just like, oh, thank God this was here. Because, like, maybe you were this close to dying, you were this close to ruining all your cargo and whatnot, precious cargo that you needed to deliver, because it was super fragile, whatever the case may be. And, thankfully you found a timefall shelter, or just a regular shelter, or, let's just say there's this big gap between this cliff and then the next cliff over. You can put a bridge down, and then you can get likes and thumbs up, similar to like a social media. You get a like that other people can give you, basically kind of stating how useful it was. There are no thumbs downs. It's purely positivity. And if you use it, you automatically give or get one like. So it's not like you can just put something down and then someone can be ungrateful, use it, and then not give you, their thanks, their gratitude for it. You will automatically get or give a like by using a particular structure. So, and it was super, super interesting because, like, in a span of minutes, like, I can pass by something, I'll set a bridge, I'll set like a ladder down to help me get over this gap. I'll go rest real quick and then I'll come back within 5-10 minutes. And all of a sudden there's this bridge, there's this road that's built. I'm like, oh my God, this all happened, in the span of time, because everything's connected, and you see how people kind of help too, because in certain types of post boxes, things that you can put down, I've put down plenty where I'm just like, okay, I'm carrying too much, let me just put this here. And you don't have to get all your stuff back. You can always, they use the word entrust it. You can entrust it to other players. So if let's just say if you need to just move on, but you want to at least get some sort of I guess reciprocation for the things that you tried to deliver, someone else can deliver it, and then you do still get that kind of benefit as if you delivered it yourself. Not 100% of the benefit, but you do at least get like 50% of the benefit. So if a particular package was going to give you like 400 likes, you would end up getting around 200, right? Like 180, something like that. So and the bigger and better likes that you get as you're kind of reconnecting and redistributing things all across America, the more, bless you, the more the more that you unlock in terms of structures and things that you can utilize, right? Like, you, for a very long part of that game, you will be walking. I didn't realize like there were like vehicles until like
Till the end of the game. Oh wait, I can take
well,
that.
it was at least like 20 hours in where I was like, oh my God,
Oh,
is that a car I can get into, first of all? Because you see cars, but you can't get into them. They're locked. They're like labeled as locked. And I was like, well, I guess we're walking, and you walk so much. you walk so much. I was like sweating in real life. I was like, I can't keep doing this. But it's incredibly rewarding though, and the vistas are insanely beautiful. So honestly, it's one of those things where it's like, even though you have to walk from location to location, what you see in the interim is absolutely stunning. All the the mountains and the greenery, and the formations of everything, and that kind of it's weird because it's it's dystopian, but it's this oddly fascinating and beautiful world at the same time, and kind of seeing the moment the timefall comes down and the BTs show up, and then of course BB's got this little that little thing kind of going around and whatnot. That it's just really cool to kind of see all the you could be passing by greenery and then all of a sudden like everything just turns to mold and mud, and you can see it. It's not just humans. Anything that's affected by this timefall will age rapidly. So you see these flowers grow and then wither and then grow and then wither, and it's just this constant loop of life and death, and it's crazy. I only ever quote unquote died once. When you die in that game, you don't really die. It's really interesting how they do death in that game. So when you die, so Sam is known as a repatriate, which is basically just someone who can just respawn. Basically, his soul gets disconnected from his body, kind of similar to what BTs are, beach things. But the difference is that he can actually go back to his physical form. Now, it doesn't make him immortal. He's not immortal. He will still age normally, you know, but unless it's an actual natural death, chances are he'll just come back. So, you know, so so yeah, so I got eaten by this big BT, and it's always different because sometimes when you come into contact with these BTs, it's just okay. You need to stealth. You need to quiet real quick. Okay, BB, tell me where they are. Right, you can scan the area really quickly, kind of walk around. You know, you pay attention to that. You know, the little sensor kind of. Going around because wherever direction it's looking, that's where there's a BT. And the moment they come into contact with you, man, oh my God, it's terrifying. That game to me is the perfect representation of yin and yang, where 1 second you can just be so serene, so tranquil, just walking. You know, you have low roar. I swear to God, their entire discography is in this game. Kojima was just like, I love their music. Just put it all. Just put it. You're gonna use it all. You have low roar playing in the background as you're just walking and delivering, and then it'll be like that for literally took me one package took me like 45 minutes just to walk from one area to the other. Like this map is big, and like it didn't look like it was that far. It was far. Yeah, no, it's a big area. It's a big map. But yeah, and what was I saying? Yeah, so yeah, it's one moment you can be tranquil and just super serene, and the next you're just, oh my God, like you're trying to hold your breath. You're not trying to say anything. You're super just like, scared basically and timid and whatnot. So, and then, and then the next second you could have, you could be looking at a beautiful waterfall with, a sunset in the background. And then the next, and it doesn't even have to just be the BTs. It could just be a gloomy day, a lot of pollution, and and this can all happen in the same spot, by the way. The weather's dynamic. Everything's dynamic. The BT showing up. They're not scripted. Well, in some areas, they're scripted for the sake of the story. But otherwise, if you're just kind of going and delivering packages, they won't always show up in the same spot. So it's very interesting. And then later down the line, you do get kind of an enhancement to your the cufflinks that you get, which is basically you can look at the map and you can kind of see the weather, and the weather will kind of tell you, if you're trying to go make a beeline for this, your next destination, and there's like a whole lot of bad weather in the way, you might want to, adjust your, adjust your travel a little bit, just because, you don't want to deal with those BTs or the time fall at all, because that'll ruin your cargo. And some cargo is can get hurt very easily. So even just by dropping. But yeah, no, just to kind of, get back to it. When I died the one time, all of a sudden it was raining. Then the entire ground got like super gooey, right? Like the BTs that you see in all the trailers and whatnot. So all the Bendy and the ink machine looking stuff, and all of a sudden, like this big lion looking thing, right? This lion BT kind of comes out, and like all of a sudden I'm in this boss fight. I wasn't anticipating a boss fight. I just wanted to deliver some packages. Can't a man just deliver some packages in peace? Apparently you can't. So
even Kevin Costner couldn't in The Postman. So.
Right.
Whoa, pulled one out there. Wow. Obscure
and the thing
Kevin
that
Costner reference. Anyway.
The thing that drives me crazy. The things that drives me crazy is like, you have a certain amount of health on each piece of cargo, and these people have the audacity to tell me when you deliver your cargo. Now you do have a cargo like cleaner thing, a little spray that you can kind of spray behind to kind of heal it, if you will. So you can bring it back to 100%. But like, that happened to be that one time where I was just ill prepared. And then, like, when I went to go deliver all the stuff, these people have the audacity to be like, it took you a while to get here, and why is all this stuff messed up? And I'm just like, dude, it's free shipping. I don't know what you want from me. Like, if you have Fragile Express and she can like instant transmission, teleport from place to place, no problem. If you need same day shipping, call her. Everyone's calling me. I don't know why all of this is on me. So I'm asked, so like these questions are going through my head throughout the entirety of my playthrough, where I'm just like, I don't understand why people rely on me so much. You have a faster shipping method with her, and yet for some reason it's just like, no, Sam, we need you to go across America. I'm a man on two legs.
And don't forget,
fighting lions on the way.
I was just so flummoxed the entire time, where I was just like, I don't why is everyone relying on me so bad? Like, I understand I have the bridge baby, but like, I come on, if people need their packages so bad, like, I'm essentially a one-man army at this point. I'm a one-man Amazon. And then, like, I don't know, it just drove me crazy. Everyone's got the audacity. No one's grateful. I just, like, what it took for me to get here. Like, you don't understand what I went through, man. But yeah, anyways, when I died, whenever a BT eats a real life or a living being, there's what they call a void out, which is essentially almost like a small miniature version of like a Big Bang. And it is it's a spectacle. I almost wanted to die more on purpose just so I could see it happen again. Like, it was insane. Like, it was when I came back to life, there was a massive, and I mean massive, crater in front of me that happened because of this void out, and it was huge. This thing spanned. I couldn't even tell you how far. I'm not even sure the draw distance could have loaded all of it. It was so big, and that's permanent. That stays, So it makes me think. It's just like, what if everyone just kind of got together and was just like, let's just put craters all over this map. Like, that just went through my head. I was just like, all right, everybody go and try to die. And like, since the game's kind of interconnected that way, so let's just put craters everywhere, just to kind of see what happens. I don't know if anyone's planning on doing that, but that went through my mind. But it was a spectacle, but also but you also don't want to quote unquote die, because like, you do lose like half of your stuff, and then like a lot of the stuff is just irreparable. Like, you just, even with your container spray, it's done. It's done. You can't fix it. So you definitely want to avoid it when possible. But it was really, really cool seeing that, and then coming back to life, because you play as in that whole like death area, the seam they call it. You can see other dead, well, not dead players, I guess, but like dead. I guess the other BTs and whatnot, and you can kind of reconnect their souls while they're there, so they can finally like rest in peace, versus being these beached things that are essentially just people in limbo. That's why they're so weird and spiritual. They're just people in limbo. Is the best way I can explain it. And yeah, and then when you go back to your body and just seeing that crater in front of you, my God, it's insane. It's really insane. But yeah, no, that only happened to me once. You definitely get messed up a lot in that game, but you can easily go the whole game without dying. I almost did, but that one part was just, oh my God, they just put me in a boss fight out of nowhere. And again, it's all RNG too. It's not like, that just, it's happened. I've seen other people go through that area. They were fine. I've come back to that area, and it was nothing. Everything was fine. It was a nice, beautiful, sunny day. So, just with a big crater in the middle. So, but anyways, yeah. No. Long story short, by the end, it did make sense. It did make sense. Do I still have questions? Yeah, sure. But I would say 90% of my confusion is gone. It kind of came together really beautifully by the end. And man, those last couple of cutscenes, or movies, I should say, because they were literally about 2 hours long. It was just so great. It was so great. My only, I guess, complaint really is that I wish, I guess, Mads Mikkelsen got more screen time. But they made use of every time he was there. He stole the show. He stole the show, and I think there have been many polls now that have just like been like, "Who's your favorite character?" And his character Cliff has always come out number one, even though he wasn't there as much as I would have liked. They made each time he was on screen count. They very much count, and man, what a compelling character. But there weren't that many characters on it. There's like maybe like 7-8 characters, for as big as that world was, because humanity was on the brink of extinction as well, so there weren't many people left, So, the characters that you do meet, as far as like main characters, the ones that were there in like, cutscenes and whatnot, couldn't have been more than like 7 or 8. So it felt very, very attached that way. It wasn't super convoluted in the way it's just like, dude, there's too many characters. I can't keep up with this. It didn't turn into a Warriors game, right? This wasn't Dynasty Warriors where you have 170 people to choose from. It's, it's nice and compact and very, yeah, just very straightforward in that regard. Now you do see a lot of cool cameos from all the distribution centers that you go to, but they're just holograms, so they don't really contribute much in the way of storytelling. Well, I guess they do to a degree because they tell their part of the story and what they've gone through since the last, I guess, the last quote unquote extinction, if you will. But yeah, by the end, it's very philosophical, very beautiful. But Kojima does troll you because every time you think it's over, it's not over. It's not over. I thought it was over on 4 separate occasions, and I'll tell you why. It's because I saw credits on 4 separate occasions.
Oh, jeez.
That's why.
Interesting.
And I couldn't believe it. I was just like, oh, I guess that's the end of the game. The funny part is each time it ended, quote unquote, it could have been a perfect ending point. But then he was just like, no, here's another 4 hours. Here's another 4 hours of gameplay. And that's not a hyperbole. It was literally about 4 more hours. And then credits again. And then you're just like, oh, man, that was amazing. But hold up. The final act actually has a final act. So and then it gives you another 4 hours. And then it's just like, and then the credits and then another cutscene. By the time it ended, like actually ended, I was like, are we sure? Are we sure? Hold on. And even then, I'm not going to spoil it, but even then, even then, was the game finished, really? And I'm not saying that in a way like it's setting itself up for a sequel or anything. There wasn't a cliffhanger. Like I said, it tied in very beautifully by the end. It was fantastic, but just the way of just like, what do credits even mean anymore? Yeah. It's like this needs to stop. I think it was just another way for Kojima to just be like, by the way, in case you need to see my name one more time, there you go. So, yeah. But yeah, long story short, that game was game of the year. It's up there. It's top 3 for me. I mean, honestly, like. There have been a lot of great games to come out this year.
There's been a lot.
Yeah, I'm still setting up my top 10 at the moment. But honestly, like, I'm still thinking. I'm not even joking. I'm still thinking. I'm not even joking. Like, Luigi's Mansion 3 is like, my God, that game was fantastic. Luigi's Mansion 3. Yeah. What a wonderful, wonderful game. Man. I mean, I don't want to talk too much or draw it out, but I did play and beat Pokemon Sword and Shield, which was fine. It was fine.
You've already beat it. Okay.
Yeah, I've already beat it.
I'm only about 12, 15 hours in, something like that. It's an easy one for me to play on the road because I have I can take my Switch with me. So
it's very much built around which they've changed a lot. Pokemon was not like this before, but now it is very much built around like if you want to play it casually, that's totally fine.
Yeah,
you want to just do a couple
right
battles.
Through it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But Pokemon Sword and Shield, as a Pokemon fan, as someone who's been playing Pokemon since day one, I was 7 when the first generation came out, and so it's. Let me say this first of all, I enjoyed it. It was a good game. It was leaps and bounds better than Sun and Moon. Not that was going to be hard to do.
Yeah, that's true.
But it wasn't that generational leap that I think we were all kind of expecting.
Yeah.
Not like X and Y was. Honestly, every time each Pokemon game has come out on their new handheld system, it's always been your mind's always blown. Like, you had the regular like first gen, everything was more or less black and white, right? And then all of a sudden, second gen comes around and it's just like, hey, not only is there color and not only can you go Johto and Kanto, but you can play as a girl now. The one Crystal version came out, and it was just like, oh my God, I can, you can choose who you want to play now, and then they introduced, just a lot of cool things, a lot more items, and a lot of the new balls as well. It wasn't just, Pokeball, Great Ball, Ultra Ball, Master Ball. That's when you started seeing Premier Ball and the GS Ball that was never used. It was supposed to be used, but the American or the Western version never actually used it. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was actually meant for Celebi. That was, but we just never got that. The only way, I don't know if there was a legal way to get Celebi, but most people just ended up just getting Celebi with a Game Shark. That was the only way.
Yeah, that was the only way I ever knew it anyway.
Yeah. And then third gen, between the animations, you were able to, actually, I think was it second gen or third gen? You were able to start running. You got the running shoes. You were able to start running, and that's when they introduced double battles. I think they introduced double battles on third gen as well. So that would be Sapphire, Ruby, Emerald. And it was just so vibrant, so beautiful, and such a stunning game. I actually maxed out the clock in that game, so I just stopped recording my time. That's how much. It was every time I saved, it would just like, no, we just weren't. These cartridges weren't built for you to play this much. But it was great, and then fourth gen is when they first got into DS, right? And then that's when you started seeing this weird kind of shift. You started seeing sprites, high quality sprites, but the environment started becoming a little bit 3D, a little bit, right? So, and at the time, especially on the DS, it was just like, I can't believe I'm playing this on a handheld. How am I playing something that's kind of three-dimensional on a handheld? This is insane. And then I'll never forget that one scene. At least I think it was in Diamond and Pearl and Platinum, where you're going down this big bridge, and the way the camera pans up to really show you the scope of this Golden Gate Bridge looking thing, it was stunning. I'll never forget that. Just this, seeing that, and that's when you started seeing things kind of taking the three-dimensional kind of perspective, not the sprites or anything, but again, the overworld anyways. Right. And it was just absolutely fantastic. And then you started seeing, that's when they started implementing, internet capabilities, so global trade station, Wi-Fi battles, things like that, and it felt revolutionary at the time. And then X and Y comes out, and like everything's fully 3D. There's 2D's out the window at this point, right. Full character models. The in-game battles straight up look like Pokemon Stadium at this point, camera panning around 360 degrees, it's really cool. Animations of the characters throwing the Pokeball, and then them still remaining in the background. You can kind of see them versus just kind of disappearing, everything was just so incredibly detailed, and that whole region, Kalos, being based off of France, was just so stunning, so detailed, and the Pokemon were great, and what blew my mind at the time, I thought it was revolutionary. You could sit down. You could finally sit down. Whenever you saw a bench, you could sit in it. Yeah. It was a stupid mechanic, but it was that one thing where it's just like, it's there, right? 20 years, finally I can sit down. It's like seeing Snorlax stand up. It was like, oh my god, he did it. He did it. He finally stood up. But X and Y was just, at the time, again, revolutionary, especially for where Pokemon was and where it was up to that point. Sun and Moon is where things just started going really weird. There was a lot of experimentation that just did a lot more harm than good. There were some cool things, like, for example, you had full 360 movement at this point. There were nothing was grid based, so you weren't limited to up, down, left, and right, because even in X and Y you were still limited to up, down, left, and right. I think you could go diagonal, but even then it didn't work that well. So, but Sun and Moon was full 360 movement. Also, you started seeing a shift. HMs weren't a thing anymore. Everything was just a TM, right? Nothing was one use anymore. Everything was unlimited. Right. So, and any quote unquote HM that you did learn was now replaceable. Up until that point, everything HMs, especially, were permanent. They were permanent. You had to. So, I don't mind it entirely because it is one of those quality of life enhancements, and but taking away the gyms and those trials were just not very rewarding. Everything was empty, and Sun and Moon especially, more than any other game, it had this weird thing of, like, right in the beginning of the start of the game, you felt like you were going on this grand adventure, but by the end, I've never seen a world, especially an RPG world, usually it's the opposite, where Sun and Moon got emptier and emptier the more you played through it, because you couldn't, you just weren't doing battles anymore. Everyone only had one Pokemon to begin with, anyways, and then people have the audacity to call themselves trainers out here, and I mean, I was just so mad the entire time playing it, and I was like, this just didn't work. Now, but again, Sun and Moon, credit where credit's due, did introduce some nice quality of life enhancements that were for the better. Of course, it expanded upon X and Y's kind of that kind of like personalization that you could do for your character. It gave you a lot more clothing options, a lot more accessories, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, I mean, it was also the fastest I've ever beaten a Pokemon game. I beat that game in like 20, 25 hours. I was like, what's going on? I think Pokemon before always took me like, at least playing it normally, at least 40 to 50 plus hours.
Yeah, you sink time.
Yeah, exactly. Especially since you want to grind. You want to get your Pokemon, make them bigger and better.
Right.
But everyone was so weak in Sun and Moon, and then the amount of hand holding, and then I hated where everyone was just like, yo, let me heal your Pokemon up real quick. No, don't do that. There's literally a Pokemon Center 10 feet down that way. If I need to heal my Pokemon, I'll go out of my way to do it. You don't. It drives me crazy. And then the rival, quote unquote, he wasn't a rival. I don't know, but it just drove me crazy. But Sword and Shield, was substantially better. At the end of it, I did have fun with it, which I did not feel that way with Sun and Moon. When the moment the credits rolled, I was like, "What? That's unfortunate."
I never even finished Sun and Moon. Never.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
I got halfway through and just went, nah. Yeah.
Every Pokemon game I've ever owned and played always has hundreds of hours put into it. And I'm creeping up on the 100-hour mark now on Sword and Shield. Sun and Moon, I think by the time I finally put it down, was about 49 hours. And so that's the only game where I just didn't invest much time into it. Yeah. And even the Pokemon Company knew how bad it was, because literally a year later, here's Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, right? Or it's just like, oh yeah, no, we messed up hardcore on this. Here's a fixed version. And it's just like, so what is it, a $40 patch? That's what this is.
Yeah, essentially.
So help me God, have to do the same thing with Sword and Shield, because I just have this feeling where they're gonna have like Ultimate Sword and Shield next year, where it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, we put the national decks in there. Well, all the Pokemon that we're missing are there now, and I'm just like, oh no, you see, no.
I'm okay with with all the different Pokemon. I'm not one that needs that. Oh, I need every gen in a game. I just don't need it. I don't want it in every game. I want something new.
Yeah, I'll be honest. It's one of those
Pokemon. You can't get anything new. Same game over and over again.
True.
And this is why I will, unless it radically looks different, I will never play it, because I'll look at it and be like, nope, still that, not what I can want.
Still what I thought.
Yeah, not for me.
Honestly, that interestingly enough wasn't an issue for me. Being such a big Pokemon fan, having the Pokedex cut wasn't really an issue for me. I think the issue, the reason why I did kind of have an issue for it is because I started thinking about, okay, well, I have Pokemon Bank, and then they're kind of bringing it over to Switch as Pokemon Home, right? Mm-hmm. So if you want Sword and Shield to be your definitive version, you can't, because only so many Pokemon are allowed to be in that game, so you can't transfer everything over. So you're kind of like, you really have to pick and choose. So if there was a specific team, especially if you play competitively, if there was a specific team that you had before, now you have to make sure you have to go down this list, be like, okay, are you eligible? Can you come into this game here? So it becomes problematic when you start putting it in the perspective of, I don't want to call it esports, but the Pokemon championships that they have, where if you are one of those people that does go to those and, takes it very seriously, now all of a sudden, that team you so heavily relied on is kind of null and void at that point. So
make a new one. I have no tears for you. Sorry.
Yeah, it's
a new. If you want a new game, then it has to be new. You can't rely on like all the stuff you've done before.
Right.
And oh wait, you still have lots and lots and lots of them. Like,
right.
Find a team, and maybe that'll be fun for you.
Yeah, and that.
Otherwise,
and,
why bother if you're just going to do the same old team you had before?
Right.
Then
Right,
Exactly.
it's the same
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. You're right.
exactly, yeah, because I'm definitely someone who prefers to keep things like fresh, so like that. And again, that's why I didn't care that much that the Pokedex was cut in half. And again, if it forces people to have to rethink their strategies, good.
Well, yeah.
That way that way you don't see them the same mundane stuff over and over again. So
And if they don't like it, they can still play the old games, right?
yeah, exactly. There,
They're not going away.
So, but yeah, my immediate thought was Pokemon Bank and /Home, where I was just like, oh well, Sword and Shield can't be your definitive version now of Pokemon. So, but all that aside, man, I really enjoyed it. By the end of it, I was surprisingly happy. Now, again, it's not that generational leap. It just
Right.
to me, looking at it and from a technical aspect, gameplay. I mean, it's Pokemon,
Yeah.
so it's fun, but from a technical aspect, it was not the generational leap we expected, or there's no anti-aliasing. The game's, as far as I'm concerned, it's not very pretty. I'm sorry, this
Well,
game's
I
not.
haven't played it on TV yet. I've only played it in handheld mode, and it's all right in handheld mode. You could see little jaggies, you could see little little imperfections and stuff like that. And I don't know if you get that on playing it on TV or not. I haven't.
Oh, you do.
Do you think you would have felt differently on that subject if they hadn't done the Let's Go games? As far as just the look of it, because you've already had sort of like a game on the Switch that's a Pokemon game that looks pretty decent.
Yeah.
Are you just like in the back of your mind kind of comparing it to that, or is it just a completely different thing?
No, yeah, I'm not comparing it to Let's Go at all.
Idea. That's what I'm asking.
No,
Yeah,
to me, it's no bigger jump than Moon, or or it's just you're just playing it on a TV instead, or on a bigger screen instead of playing it on a 3DS.
But by the time I finished it, one of the first things I said was that was a good game, but that was a 3DS game that somehow made it on the Switch.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. I mean, it feels
maybe it started out life that way.
It could have.
When they started
I'm convinced I'm convinced it did, just because of the way it feels, plays, and looks. There's no way you could tell me you could not. If you just got to do bump the res down a little bit, maybe change some of the lighting and shading, that thing could easily run on, at least on a new 3DS, easily.
Yeah.
Easily. If you can get Xenoblade Chronicles in there, you can get Sword and Shield.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't even make. I don't know about. I don't know if you've played it in handheld or not, but it doesn't it doesn't even make the system hot. I have some games that you can hear that fan kick on, that's pushing it. You can touch it back up and go, man, that thing's warm. And Pokemon just isn't even pushing it, which I guess I understand. It's not supposed to be a groundbreaking graphics.
It's not.
Game.
And when you compare, and certainly when you compare Pokemon as a game by itself compared to other games on each platform it's been on, it's never been the one you look at in terms of like that's groundbreaking, But
it's colorful and pretty.
Yeah, right. But from what Pokemon's done, I just feel like, I guess one of the biggest issues I had is like Pokemon Masters on my phone somehow looks so much more beautiful than Sword and Shield, which is a console game.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened, but somehow Pokemon Masters is a much more visually appealing game and with better animations and everything. By the way, with a little bit of voice acting too, it really brings the world to life. There's no voice acting in Sword and Shield.
None at all.
And I just, for comparing with so many feature-rich JRPGs specifically on Switch, Pokemon's very low in terms of what it's achieved in that genre.
Mm-hmm.
So now again, fun game, but it wasn't that techno. You have so much power to play with, and this is what we got.
Yeah.
So it just feels like you're using only 10% of what the Switch is capable of. And and this is the Pokemon company we're talking about here. This is $1 billion corporation. It's $1 billion property.
Yeah.
So it's massively upsetting. And I don't know, maybe hopefully sometime in 2030 we'll finally get that Pokemon game we deserve, but at this point,
nope. As long as they can still do two types of the same game and it sells a bajillion copies every time, they're not going to iterate because they don't have to.
Yeah.
And then I wonder a lot too if it's
it's taking the Call of Duty.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder too. Game Freaks is kind of coming out with different games now. They're not just doing just Pokemon.
Right.
Now they maybe.
They got that other RPG in the works, right?
Yeah, they've got. There's one game that just came out before Pokemon did, and then there's another one that's coming out.
Or Little Town Hero just came out.
Yeah.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know how big of a game studio they are. I don't know.
Yeah, but even with that Little Town,
cool.
whatever it's called, that still looks like a Pokemon game.
Yeah, it kind of does.
does.
Yeah, I mean it does. But.
It's still very much in their wheelhouse of this is the kind of thing.
It's one of those things where it's just like, I wish you would just admit that you don't have the manpower to just do all of this. It's okay to just license it out. Don't be afraid to just license it out. When Nintendo didn't know what to do with Metroid, they gave it to Retro, and look what they did with it. We got Prime, and Prime was that whole entire trilogy is just brilliant. And you've seen that happen with a lot of games. When Sega didn't know what to do with Sonic, which they still don't know what to do with Sonic, they gave it to a bunch of fans, and then we got Sonic Mania out of it.
Right.
The highest rated Sonic game in 10, 15 years?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And we got a bunch of garbage. Or after.
So, then Forces was shortly after to kind of keep that helm going, clearly. But yeah, no, it's just like, it's okay to license it out, man. And if you want Junichi Masuda to come by and just supervise it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But like, I think you guys need to take a hands-off approach
Yeah.
and just kind of let a different studio kind of take it from here, because you've lost passion. I feel you've lost the creative output, and it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate, because it's a series that I love. It's a series I grew up with, literally, and just it's not that. It was always that game that made you brag, where it's just like, yo, man, you didn't get that new Pokemon game, and like, you always kind of felt like crap in school, growing up. It's like, oh man, he doesn't have Pokemon. Oh, I don't have Pokemon. That's messed up. That was the thing to have. Now with Sword and Shield, it's just like, yo, you don't have that new Pokemon game? No, I don't need it. I got Dragon Quest 11. I got Witcher 3. I got all these feature rich RPGs. I got Fire Emblem. I don't need it.
Yeah.
I don't need it. I got the Digimon collection now, Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memories on there, which they do Pokemon better than Pokemon does, believe it or not. And it's just, you don't need it. On the library Switch has, you don't need it anymore, versus before, where Pokemon was an absolute necessity for each respective console it was on. So, but again, credit where it's due. It was fun. I had a good time with it. But,
Giga Wrecker Alt was the game that I was thinking of that came out that was Game Freak.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I forgot that was them.
Which is totally not anything like Pokemon.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Having to cast the net, try something else.
Yeah.
Just give it off to somebody else.
Just give it off to somebody. See, this is my Switch Grip Pro, or Satisfy Grip that I got. And man, I could play this thing handheld all friggin' day now, because now it feels like I'm holding a controller in my hand.
Right.
Because see how it makes my hand... Oh, look at my hand actually sitting on the buttons the right way. Instead of sitting over here like this, trying to reach and do the thumb thing. So,
does that grip have cartridge slots in the back, or is it just a grip?
Nope, it's just a grip. Just a grip. Nothing fancy. Worth every penny I paid for it.
People wonder why I play my Switch on the TV mostly.
Yeah.
That exact reason.
And that's why I got the grip, because now the
after
Switch
like an
Lite
hour, I was
doesn't
like,
came out of the Switch Lite doesn't come out of the grip now. It stays
there
in
you
there all
go.
the time, so.
And my Switch original sits in the stock.
But my original stays docked.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that's really all it's been the last couple of weeks. Star Wars, Pokemon, Death Stranding, and Luigi's Mansion, and I'm good for December. Honestly, I don't think there's any big games really coming out in December that I'm looking forward to.
Nothing coming out
next
that I
There usually isn't. There's maybe one game ever that comes out in December. That's
Right.
like a big marquee title. The only thing that is coming out in December is last of Life is Strange 2 episode comes out in December.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that, because then I can binge. I don't like to do episode by episode for Life is Strange, because that story's so good. So like,
Yeah.
I'm
I
just
played
gonna
the first
wait for it.
episode of Life is Strange 2, and then I've held off till about now, so I'll probably start playing it leading up to when the last one comes out.
Yeah.
All right, Nathaniel, you were talking about Red Dead Redemption 2 on the PC. Had any issues with it like a lot of people have, or you've been
Boy,
pretty good?
howdy.
How's the multiplayer?
Yeehaw!
Not even tried it.
I want to know if
Because-
I want to know if it's crummy as it was for
I don't know. I've not even tried multiplayer at all. I've had. So when it runs great, like it should, and then inexplicably it will crash for no reason. Or I've had it crash a lot from originally. They've even patched it a few times. It's still not completely stable. There's like a couple workaround fixes I've tried that have helped, and it'll run for a long time and be fine, and then it'll crash. Or it will start back up, and within 10 minutes it will crash.
That's weird.
And it was weird. So now that they've patched it a couple times, it's a lot better in that. So I can usually play for a bit. But then I think it was after the first patch, or maybe the second one, I started running into a thing that other people have happened a lot, where you get like a quote corrupt save, is what people call it, even though that's really what's going on. It's some weird corruption in it loading. So some people thought it was like if you manually saved and then exited the game, it was doing that, and that's not always the case.
That's weird.
So what happens is I boot up the game, and it's all like booting up fine. I hit play story because Rockstar are a bunch of jerk faces who say, we don't want to let you load a specific save from the menu. We just want to load the last save, and you can't load it unless you're in the game. So because of this bug, it's a pain in the butt. You can't just like, oh, this save might be screwed. Let me do this other one. Then I like lose a half an hour or whatever. Try it out. You can't. So it'll load all the way. You'll get like the first couple of frames of the game road there and hear some audio, and then it'll crash out on you. You have to like get out of the game. So what you have to do is you have to go into the save file like folder, remove all your saves from it, put them in a like temporary folder elsewhere, load up the game. Start playing it. It'll start a brand new game. Skip all the cutscenes until you get to start playing. Then pause the game. Go outside. Put your save files back in the folder. Load them up, and then suddenly the game engine loads fine, and your save is just how it's supposed to be. It's some weird bug. It's so annoying.
That is
but then once
totally
you're going,
weird.
it plays fine, and you can play for hours. It's so weird.
That just doesn't even make
Man, that
sense.
game looks and runs so good.
Yeah.
Like, if they hadn't had all these weird stability issues, it would be an easy recommend of this is the absolute way to play this game. For one reason over everything is you get more than 30 frames a second, and you need it.
Yeah.
Because of how much they have on, like, emphasis on animations and stuff in the game, it just looks a lot smoother, and it's a lot more responsive feeling than at 30 frames a second when I was playing on PlayStation when it came out.
Now,
I played a decent chunk of it. I played probably at least 15 hours of it on PlayStation.
Yeah. Does the Xbox One X version run at 60 frames with the upgraded stuff?
Nothing does.
I believe it does. No.
Okay. I couldn't
But
remember.
it is the most stable.
I couldn't remember if it could or not.
Yeah. As far as I know, PC's the only one that'll run higher than 30.
Gotcha.
Right.
I mean,
I could be wrong about that, but I don't know.
It's a fun game. It's pretty long for a Rockstar game, but by the end,
Rockstar games are never short.
No,
I mean, I'm not going to spoil
played
anything.
a
By the end, I was like, there's still like 10 hours left. I'm like, no.
I have no idea where I am percentage-wise story. I just know I've played way further than I did on PlayStation. I'm still like really.
There is a cap
it.
though. When you're hunting the legendary animals, I found out there's a point in the game of no return, and you cannot go back and get them. So
yeah,
be wary of that.
I think I've done a couple of those, and like
they get annoying.
It's funny. Like this time, I played long enough to get the fishing rod unlocked. And I was like, why did they bury that so deep into the game?
Yeah, that never makes sense to me.
I played that a little bit. And I was like,
because the reason is that at the very tail end of that they have a little bit of story in the cutscene, where you could have just kept that split off somewhere else, or just not have it, or whatever. Just do the fishing tutorial way earlier in the game. Because like this whole time, like I walk by a river and it's like, hey, there's a legendary fish here. I'm like, but I can't even fish.
Yeah, I can't fish yet. So for some reason, I don't know how to fish.
Maybe I'll just shoot the water. I don't know.
Yeah.
But when I do get fishing, it's really fun. I like the fishing.
Yeah, I did too.
It's a really good one. It's like it's just mechanically, enough to feel like you're doing something where it's not super simple, but it's not overly complicated or weird either. It's like just the right amount of like interaction with it. Like, oh, cool! I got a fish, but it didn't take me 10 minutes to get it either.
All right.
Yeah. Man, that game is so pretty looking. Like the draw distance on PC is really nice, and the frame rate is up higher. I've got it probably running like, I don't know, 70, 80 on average on FPS, depending on what area of the game I'm in. And the way they've done the settings, there's a lot of stuff you could tweak, and they've kind of future-proofed it where like PC gamers are such idiots sometimes because they think ultra means the same thing for every game, and it does not. Which is partially the fault of like people making options in video games, and partly people just thinking, "Hey, I should be able to run it because I got no like ultra in this game is not the same as this other game over there, guys." Like some of the stuff on Red Dead, if you crank it up, your system's going to die, even if it is the top of the line brand new system you built like last week.
Right.
Because they designed it that way so that when technology improves, it will still look really cool, and you can still keep cranking up and tweaking things that'll make it just that slight bit, nicer.
Right.
I've got like probably mostly high settings, a few like ultra settings in there, a few lower, just because of optimizing it based on people going through it and saying like, this one doesn't really change from high to low that much, you might as well put it on low, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Witcher 3 was like that for a while too.
Yeah, a lot of games are. There's like different stuff where it's like, okay, yeah, there's a difference, but it's so super subtle that you have to have like comparison side by side screenshots to where you're in game, you're just like, I can't tell the difference, but I'm getting an extra 5% frame rate, so might as well knock it down a
Right.
But yeah, I've had lots of adventures with my horse named Steve. Pretty good.
A horse named Steve.
Yep. I forget what I named my first horse. I've gotten into the second camp, or I guess technically the third camp, because you got like kind of the intro snowy part, and then you get down to the main part of the camp for a long time, and then you kind of, because of story reasons, move on to another place.
Yeah, because
I'm at that second place now, and I'm assuming I'll move on from there at some point too. But like this time, I actually made it all the way, and I've kind of covered most of the map, at least to some degree, from just exploring. I actually made it to the city, to the fake New Orleans, where I never got there on PlayStation. I got semi-close now that I've played it, because I did the one like side quest that's near the beginning of that game where you have kind of different legendary like gunslingers or whatever you're tracking down to try and get.
Oh yeah, that part was fun.
And there's one that's kind of in the bayou area that's like, oh, I made it that far. All I had to do was go down this road, and I would have been at the cool place.
I went that far early on in the game just because my horse got killed, and I hopped on a train, and I judged it going the wrong direction, and it took me into that town. So then I had to get off the train and then wait for the next one to come back because it was too far to walk.
Did you not just use a stagecoach, or did you not have them?
No, I had. That's what I did. I got on the stagecoach in the city, and then went back because I got.
I mean, I'm glad there are a few like fast travel options in that game, but overall, it's like I would like to have so many more. Just because
I don't know. I'd like to put it on
fast travel out to wherever you've been before, but you can't fast travel back, which I kind of like. But you also have the different stagecoaches you can do. Some of the missions will just like take you back anyway. They're not going to make you like ride all the way back, depending on which ones they are.
And I always like to
riding around in that game is so much fun. That like that's the good part of that game.
A lot of times I would like to put it on the camera where it would just do where it would follow the road and it would do these dramatic, zooms in.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the evil cinematic camera that I never ever used?
Yeah. Yeah, because if there's
kill you.
Yeah, because if there's a log over the road, the horse would not jump over it or go around it. It would just run into it, and you just go flying off.
Oh man! So the challenges they have in the game, there's horse riding. We have to do 3 obstacles within like 10 or 15 seconds or something. So it's like, oh hey, here's some fences. This will work.
Yeah.
So I like jump over the first fence. Great. I turn around and I must have hit the second fence at just the wrong angle or something, because I hit it. My horse just like crashes into it. I go flying. I'm like, that didn't work how I expected.
Dang it, Steve!
Damn you, Steve.
Why would you do this? But yeah, I'm gonna continue playing through this game. Probably end up finishing it eventually. I don't know.
Yeah,
I still haven't hit
any
close to like point of no return. I'm like in this 2 different towns that have like the feuding families. There's like a feuding family storyline going on. And I
I kind of had to
Main
force
mission.
myself at the end to finish. I'm like, no, side mission, just push through the story. I need to do this. And I mean, I enjoyed what I
Oh,
played.
hey, look at this thing over here. Forget
yeah,
that
I'm like,
yellow
oh,
mark.
hey,
Do it
Yeah.
later.
over there. Oh no. It's still a good game. You just gotta be prepared to commit the time. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely put in a pretty big chunk of time into it, and it's a game worth doing it. You know it, because otherwise I would have long given up with all the stupid technical issues that I kept running
Yeah.
into. It's just like
Yeah.
randomly crashing or doing this or that. It's like, no, I want to play this game. Stop.
I want to finish it. Come on.
Stop. giving me
Rockstar, you
roadblocks.
took my money.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other game that I've played, other than we already talked about Jedi Fallen Order,
Right.
which we talked about earlier, just finished that the other day. This one has been a while since I finished it, but it's been so long since we recorded that still haven't talked about it on the show. Is Outer Worlds. I played that on PC.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Now, did you
That
do?
game
Did you
is
buy it or
definitely-
did you do the Game Pass?
Oh, I bought it.
You bought it.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't do Game Pass. No, I bought it because I was like, knowing from sort of what the reviews it was getting at the time, and just like the type of games that I like, and just looking at
Yeah.
what they've done before, just all that. I was just like,
Right.
I'm just gonna buy it. I don't, I figured it's better to buy it than to do the Game Pass. They get more money this way, even though they've got whatever upfront from Game Pass that they get, or how much
Right.
they get per person, I'm sure. But it's just like, nah, I'll just give them a sale.
Yeah. I did it on Game Pass just because I just happen to have it. So
I will definitely go back and play through this game again at some point because
Yeah.
it was really good. They embarrassed Bethesda with this game.
Mhm.
Bethesda
They
does
really
not know how to
did.
make their own franchises anymore. Like, this is basically
Yeah.
Fallout in outer space.
Yep.
Pretty much.
It is. It is.
Like, with some
really
other
good.
differences, but like just tone wise, the way the writing works, it's just, you can tell that this is the New Vegas people making a game
Yep.
Yeah.
in that style in outer space.
Yeah.
Fallout and everything but name almost. It's
Yeah.
just like the way that the structure works, just the quirky characters you meet, all the different areas, just the type of things you're doing when you're wandering around, the way you find loot. A lot of that is very much that same kind of formula.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, hey, this is what happens when someone makes a game and it's good.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, here's what happens when they make a game and it's Bethesda's engine. It's like bug free. What?
Yeah.
You can make a game like this and it doesn't have crazy bugs from day one?
And it's not terribly long either. That's the other thing. It's not.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how long. I'd have
What,
to look
20
it up
hours?
and see how long
15
I
to
played.
20? That's what
I
I'd
played
heard.
way more
like,
than 20 because I was
Yeah.
just doing every
I-
little thing that I could.
I got it as an early Christmas gift. I'm very excited. So,
Yeah, like this game is super colorful. It's got really good writing. There's some really fun,
got all the fun things.
Easter
of the
eggs you can
previous
find.
games.
It's
Yeah.
got quirky characters you can interact with. There's like a weird shopkeeper who wears a moon on his head. Like, there's all sorts of just really cool stuff to discover in that game. And they really lean into the whole like corporate apocalypse kind of angle,
Yeah.
where it's just like, hey, corporations own everything, and this kind of solar system is really screwed up because of all these things, and how do you want to handle it? Kind of deal. So that's like the first setup, and you can choose a bunch of different kind of like paths on it in different places in the story.
That was
And
my
end up
favorite thing
doing
at the
different
beginning,
things.
where they kept going, "Oh yeah, and by the way, remember that blah 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 is because we have to say that." It's like-
Yeah, well, like, yeah, you start out the game and kind of getting woken up out of cryopod or whatever,
Yeah.
and you get sent into a ship and you crash land on this planet. And the first thing that you do is you crawl out of it, get through a cave, and you meet some soldier guy who's just sitting there, and you have the option to heal him. And when you do, he's like, "Oh, I shouldn't let you do that. We're not allowed to be, healed by non-spacer's choice items or whatever. Don't tell anyone." And then
Yeah.
later, you can tell his like supervising officer, that you helped him, or you can choose to not tell him, and
Yeah.
different thing, like little things happen because of that. There's much bigger choices all built in, and that's just kind of like the first area of the game.
Yeah. I haven't finished it yet. I'm probably had stopped playing about halfway through or something like that.
How many planets have you been to? Then?
I don't even remember. That's how long it's been.
There's
I played
not really
it
that many.
No, I played it with Game Pass you could preload it, so it was up and ready to go when it went, when the game released.
Mhm.
And I played it 2 or 3 days straight, and then I had to go out of town for a month, so
Yeah.
I don't even remember. I remember where I left off, but I don't remember. I spent way too long on the first planet. I know that because I did every little bitty thing I could do on that planet and just squeezed it all out.
I don't know that that's possible to do, like, because it's built that way, and when you go back, most of that stuff you can't do later, or you can,
Right.
but it's not the same. And you do go back, like they have the same planet, like at least two of them I think have more than one area you can go to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the same planet, but it's a different map, so it looks similar with like what vegetation and kind of like hills and rocks and all that will look the same because you're on the same planet. It's just
Right.
a different area, so you're going through different stuff.
Yeah.
But let's see. And then they have a few like little one-off things like, oh, hey, here's this cool mission you can do for us on this weird space station somewhere, and then it adds it to your map so you can fly there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's 3 planets, a few other little side areas, and like each planet had a couple, at least 2, maybe 3 areas on it, and then there's like a final area that like it tells you when you go here, this is the end of the game. Beware. Like they very signposted. If you want to go do more side quests, you can before you go running off to the end of the story. Yeah, that's another game like Jedi Fallen Order that has got really, really good companion characters in it that are like your crew.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know, my favorite one's the very first one that you get.
Oh, the chick.
She's really, really cool. But
is.
It's partly because it's Ashley Birch is the voice actress for her, and like any character she ever plays, it's like, yes,
Ashley Birch
you're gonna be my favorite. So it's like, hey, Tiny Tina's awesome, or hey, Horizon, that game's awesome, partly because of her performance in it. Or Life is Strange, like she's got so many really good, memorable characters, and this is another one in a completely kind of different way, but you can still recognize her voice if you're kind of a fan of like other characters she's done, or you might just be like, I've heard her before from somewhere, she sounds familiar. But yeah, it's really, really cool. You can tell that like with the game it has a little bit less of a budget, which in this case I think was a good thing because it helped them focus in on what they wanted it to be, and they didn't try and throw all of the extra bloat that you sometimes get in a game like this, and it still managed to just be pretty expansive and have a lot of things going on with it. You've got like hub world that you keep coming back to sell your stuff or pick up other missions, and you go out to other places and do a bunch of things there, and then you come back and do some other things that progresses you through the story, and you get to go to like kind of different areas about the same time that you'd be wanting to go to a different area. It's just like really, really well made, super colorful. And it's not like the muted brown blah that kind of Fallout has been for many games now.
Or it's not as colorful, and like you can't lose interest with like Fallout 4 and 76 with like Fallout 4, the NPCs stuff. Like, everything looks the same. Oh wait, Fallout 76. There are NPCs. I just haven't played it in like a year.
Yeah, you get some decent weapons. I'm trying to remember. Like it's been a while since I've actually played it.
So
like
you can use melee or range, and you can get companions, right?
Don't play Doom. Don't do melee. Melee. You'll die a lot because there's so many ranged characters that shoot at you that you'll just be like, well, and like your companions are good for support and stuff, but they're not gonna like take care of that to that degree. So like you can kind of melee. It's just like closing the distance. You're gonna absorb a lot of damage trying to close in on certain things. Like maybe some of the creatures would be okay with me. I don't know. I did a little bit of it and I was like, this is kind of cool, but it just doesn't work as well as like this machine gun I've got. They do a really cool thing with how you like level up and the skills that you pick in that game too. It really changes kind of how you play it. So you can spec into melee and do all that. You can spec into ranged weapons, or you could ignore that and not put any points into those whatsoever if you really want to.
Right.
And do all like I did a lot of the speech and tech related things.
Yeah,
so I could hack a lot of stuff. It let me do better like upgrades on my weapons and stuff were cheaper. It let me do it. They all like each kind of part of your skill tree or whatever has more than one kind of effect. So the way that manifests with speech is like, okay, not only do you have a high persuasion skill that helps you in dialogue, but it also has a chance to, I forget which one that one is. It's just like make enemies fear you or whatever. There's different effects. Or with like tech, it's like, okay, this stuff is cheaper and you also cause a lot more damage with science type weapons. So, or with corrosive damage. There's like different things in there that level up. per thing. And so I kind of want to do the opposite of what I did and play through again and see how different it actually ends up being, and also pick the different choices through the story and do kind of like the whole other side of things.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is there like besides like tech? I know that I was reading a review where they were talking a lot about like the speech options like you had in like the older Fallout games, things like that. Like depending on your influence on this
So
or
the way
that
it
can get you
works
around
is
like
you
issues.
have probably, I think it's about 6 to 8 main categories that have 3 subcategories under them. And so when you first start leveling, you put points in the main category and it levels 3 things underneath it. And once you hit 50 points in a level, then you have to manually do one specific thing. You can't do the entire category at once anymore. Or you can, but that thing at 50 won't go. So if you get all of them up to 50, you have to go individually to each one. So the first part of the game, you can kind of globally put some stuff in there to help you out in general. And then as you get further into the game, you have to specialize a little bit more and think, okay, what do I want to put in here? Do I want to be a jack of all trades? Or do I want to really, really amp up this one thing that I've been doing a lot of? So lock picking or hacking or whatever. That's specific. Stealth or all the different kind of categories you would expect in an RPG like this. But yeah, the story is really well done. The characters are really, really like
how's the stealth? Is it pretty good? Is it like worth investing points in it?
It's
like
not a stealthy kind of game.
I
Like
just want to steal stuff, persuade people to do what I want them to do, and shoot everybody.
Stealth can help some, but it's not as important as it might be in some like Fallout games or like an Elder Scrolls game or something like that. It'll help you it'll take longer for something to detect you, but then like
this is gonna be one of these games I play once and I want to go back and play it again, and I'm never gonna make the time. I'm terrible. Like I always want to do a second playthrough of Fallout 3 and New Vegas, and I have like half second playthroughs where I got busy with other games. Like I'll get to it. It's been like 8 years.
So my character I did was like tech based, and she was very persuasive, and all the other like kind of speech related things, and it was just like not very strong, didn't do very much in melee, didn't really great gun skills, which didn't matter too much in the game because with the way that it works, it doesn't affect it too much. But I was very staunchly like anti-corporation for the whole game, just because I was like, I don't want to do any nuanced thing, so that it's easy when I go back for a second playthrough that I can just do the opposite. Not even if it's a while till I get to it, I'll remember. Oh, I just have to go this path instead.
So that first planet, you did the thing that ruined the thing that did the thing, or you didn't.
So the way I understand it is, you can completely change how the start of the game goes, because the guy who rescues you is like a fugitive and you can turn him in if you so choose.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, how does that change up the game? Just because of the way that it played out for me, I'm like, it seems pretty integral to how the story is progressing that he would be there. So if you just get rid of him from the start, well, does someone take his place? Like, what's going on?
I think I want to say he got killed at the beginning of my game.
Oh, man.
If I remember right, like I said, it's been since that first week that it came out that and I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure he got killed right off the bat. I don't know. I can't remember now. Now I'll have to go back and.
Like at the beginning of the game, there's a cutscene and he like gets you through, and then there's some stuff exploding, and he kind of gets out, goes to kind of his secret hideout base, satellite, asteroid thing, whatever it is, and then you can go find him there later.
Maybe that was it.
It's possible that he can get killed. I have no idea.
I don't remember now.
Again.
I want to say he did,
From
but
the
maybe
little bits I've heard of some stuff you can do, I was like, oh wow, make it completely different.
Yeah.
So like each kind of main section of the game that you have, has almost like 2 factions, seemingly, that are like in the first area of the game. You have like the kind of corporate town, and then you have like some people who left it a while ago and they've started their own little settlement. You can side with one or the other, or if you're really good and found some hidden stuff, you can kind of get them to reconcile and combine. I was not that good.
Yeah, I wasn't either. Yeah, I wasn't going to put that much time in. And
there's more of that like later on as you go through. But you end up getting on like the big rich corporate planet. By the end, you hear a whole lot about it before you even get there, and then you get there and like, okay, this seems like a big rich corporate planet with giant, crazy buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
So like I chose to I'm gonna tear it all down, screw the corporations, let's figure out all this. So I wonder what happens if you do the opposite, if it gives you a completely different kind of a ending, or if it's mostly the same. Or, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. But I do like that game.
It is a must-play game if
Yeah.
you enjoy kind of that style of RPG.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you like that Western RPG style of New Vegas style game, it's definitely worth the play. The only thing that I've done that we haven't already covered is I did get into the Project X Cloud beta trial thing, whatever you want to call it, test.
I got that as well.
How much have you used it, Dennis?
I tried it day one. I haven't tried it since then, just because but when I did try it, I tried it for about 3 or 4 hours. I was actually playing a lot of Gears 5. Just because I was playing Gears 5, I was doing some cleanup because I played the hell out of that game when it came out. But I was doing some cleanup on some collectibles that I didn't get. I figured now's a good time to test it out, right? Might as well go back to Gears 5 and do some cleanup. So going back and just going to get collectibles that I missed. So I did local stuff, but I also did multiplayer stuff. I played a couple multiplayer matches, played a couple of team test matches, or whatever they want to call it. And ran surprisingly well for me, honestly. Now, the visual fidelity, as is with most of these streaming things, they kind of fluctuate. It'll be for 5 minutes straight. It could be crisp. We're talking native, 1080 or whatever you can do on. Exactly, yeah. So, but otherwise, and it would drop from occasion, the bit rate would just tank, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing 4 pixels on screen,
Yeah.
So
and I like when it tanks. It's like it takes layers away. It's weird. It's not like it gets a little pixelated and you still play. It's like a TV with lines rolling through it that just goes
right.
It's really weird.
Right.
I've never seen anyone do that before.
But my biggest thing, as is always with these streaming services, because it's the one thing they tout the most, and it's the one thing I notice the most, which is latency. So, how long does it take for me from the moment I click the button on my controller to it reach the server, and then for me to actually see that feedback on screen? xCloud, I think you tried it too, right? The project, what did they call it? Project Google, back when they had that before. So that ran okay. It ran well.
It ran perfect for me. Most of the time, I never even realized I was on a streaming service. It felt like
it was good for me. I definitely had moments. I think it was Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I think, was the game everyone was playing, and it ran well for the most part. But the nice thing about xCloud is, for the most part, I got pretty consistent visual fidelity, as well as very minimal input lag, which was amazing. I felt like it was better than that Project Google, whatever they wanted to call it, Project 5, whatever. And I have high hopes for it. And I think so far, out of everything that I've tried so far, xCloud's probably the best so far.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's been right on par with, like I said, when I did the Google, whatever this Stadia beta thing was that they had, it ran perfect for me. I never had any issues whatsoever. Of course, I was also hardwired on a PC. That helps a lot too. I wasn't on a mobile phone, So,
right. That was the most impressive part, is we had to be on our phones to
it had
test
to be on the phone. Now, when I was running, Gears or whatever, it ran perfect. I never had any problem with input lag or anything like that. Now, when I would try to connect to my Xbox and play something streaming that way, there's a lot of caveats with that. Like, you need to be on your 5 gigahertz bandwidth of your router. You can't do it on the 2.4.
Right.
And I found at certain parts of the house it worked better than others. Like, I couldn't really do it in the back bedroom, but if I was right on the router in the living room, it worked fine. I mean, perfect.
Yeah, very dependent on signal strength, it sounds like.
And I'm just dealing with a base router from the internet service provider. I don't have a Netgear,
signal booster,
one of those fancy Netgear routers with the 5, gaming this and that and that and this. I guess if I was really going to do a lot with the Project X Cloud, I would probably invest in one of those. Because it gives you a little more freedom than just your base whatever router. I don't even know what router this is I have. It does everything I need it to do, and I get great speed out of it for everything else. But
I was very impressed with it.
Yeah,
honestly,
I was too. I was really impressed with it. I'd like to see it. Now, I guess they'll eventually bring laptop support and stuff like that. You'll be able to do it anywhere, right?
It's weird. In a weird way, you already can. I mean, I remember if you have the Xbox app on Windows, you can already stream. Granted, you have to do it locally. Yeah, I mean, you can't be like if you're on a laptop, you can't be out. You have to be on the same network. That's the only issue. You can't be like with Project X Cloud. You could be on the other side of the country and be fine. But with what they have on the Xbox app, because I remember a couple of years ago, I was. Just because of the way I had things set up at the time, my Xbox was downstairs, I was upstairs, so I was streaming Witcher 3 on my Xbox from downstairs because I was like, I don't feel like going downstairs, man. But I was playing it on my computer, but I was streaming it, and it worked fine.
Yeah,
it worked fine. But that's the only difference is like it has to be a same network versus xCloud, where it's just like, hey, so long as you have a connection of some sort, we're good.
I haven't tried it on the road. I know hotel Wi-Fi, it's not going to probably run real well because hotel Wi-Fi is crappy anyway.
Yeah, it's always crummy. Even if it says like good signal, it's always garbage speed.
But I haven't tried it, on cellular to see how it does. Basically because, technically I have an Android phone, but it's my work phone. I use Apple for every, my personal phone, and then, xCloud, the beta's not on there. It's only on the Android. So it's like, well, maybe I'll try it on the work phone just to see how it goes at some point. But yeah, it's especially using a controller with it. It's really, it's amazing. It's amazing how good it is. I was very, very surprised. All right, Eric. So what have you been playing since you haven't been playing anything?
The last show?
Well, no, since you haven't been playing anything that we've been playing, so you couldn't.
Nope. I have the most. I don't know. I have the most. I mean, I wasn't here for the last show, so I got to catch up on that. All right. So let's see. Let's start with the oldest stuff first. I played Deadly Premonition on Nintendo Switch because I got it for a review. I also played Ghostbusters on Nintendo Switch. I played Deadly Premonition before on PS3, so I kind of knew what to expect, and not much has changed. Pretty much a port of the PS3 or 360 version. Doesn't have any like the extra like content they had.
No upgraded graphics or anything.
Nah, it still looks the same. I mean, the game already looks kind of crummy, so I was like, I can't really tell if it's better or worse.
It was never a looker.
Yeah, I'm like, this game's so weird. But Ghostbusters was fun because I had never played that before, so I definitely enjoyed that. Got like halfway through. Could go back and play some more.
Yeah,
I like the controls. I liked all the voice acting. Graphics is good. It was definitely something that could appeal to everybody. And for I also played some more NBA Jam on Wii because I like to play that when I have nothing to do. But anyway, for the first time on Wii, I played New Super Mario Brothers. I've owned it for a couple of years. I've actually never played it. It is entertaining. I see why people like it. Yeah. I played Punch Out too, and I discovered that if you're going to play Punch Out, you definitely you're fine with just using the Wiimote. You don't need to use the Wiimote nunchuck combo.
No, not unless you want to. I mean, if you want that.
Yeah, I mean, if that's really your jam, go for it. But I was fine with the controller. I was like, this is actually a pretty good game. I'm glad I got around to playing this. I played some more Borderlands 3. I don't know. It's been a little bit since I recorded, but if you look behind me, things are set up differently because this last week or so, I moved everything from my office to the other room, which has more space. So I have more shelves, more stuff behind me. So been doing a lot of that, but I'm going to squeeze some time Borderlands 3, and I finally fired up Control. I started that this weekend, and I'm pretty impressed. I'm probably like halfway through. It's a lot like Alan Wake, obviously. There seems to be a lot of like backtracking, and I was looking ahead to some of the optional like side quests. I was like, but so far it's
the
fun.
Side quests, they're better than the story.
Yeah.
Every single one of the interesting boss fights are on side quests.
Cool. And the artifacts look neat too. And I spent a while looking for an artifact, only to realize that the reason I couldn't find it in the area I was in was I hadn't gotten that quest yet. And I was like, oh, that's dumb. I'm in the area. It should be there.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's you don't really. I mean, honestly, all I need to do is throw objects at people. It never gets old. rip things up from the wall,
Yeah.
throw a fire extinguisher.
They
throw
nailed that with that game
explosives.
for sure. Throwing things at people.
You're
is fun.
not much of a damage sponge. Even with the upgrades, I've noticed that. You can't take a lot, especially if you're not being cautious.
It wants to force you to keep moving and to be darting around a lot.
But it's fun. I'm enjoying it. Story. That game is super odd. I'm like trying to follow the story. I'm just like, I'm really having problems. Even when I watch the cutscenes, I'm like, I'm gonna have to go read a synopsis someplace. But I do like it. It is cool. I definitely would recommend if you're a fan of it and you can get it for $20 or $30. You like those sort of games, go for it. It's definitely entertaining. I want to finish that before I jump into Outer Worlds. That's the plan.
But, yeah, Control isn't a super long game, so it's
I think 15 hours, so that'll be good. Is there any reason to go back to it after you're done? I mean, like, I guess you play through on bigger difficulty.
If you haven't done some of the side quests, I think you do them after you've done the sort of main story, and then like the weird timed things that pop up every once in a while, they still show up.
Those are fun. I'm like, oh, cool, go get some more neat experience points and things.
Yeah, other than that, I don't think they're like it does drop you. It's just pretty much like, hey, anything you didn't do yet, you can do it now.
Jump in. Yeah, it is fun. I have enjoyed it. So it's and I bought this way back in like August, I think, when Target had that deal where if you bought a new game, they give you like 20% off or something like that. So I got it for like $35, and I was like, oh, it's a good price.
I bought it the week it came out at Target with the in-store pickup for like $35.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was, where it was on sale like right when it came out.
It was some ridiculous. It was on sale. It was like $10 off, and then you got another 25% off of it if you did the in-store pickup, and then it was like 5% more off with your red card. So I ended up getting it for like. It was like $25 or $30. I got it for super cheap right off.
I did have Star Wars. I had it, and then my wife said, "Oh, I was going to buy you that for Christmas." I'm like, "Well, I'm glad that I'll just return the copy I bought." So.
Well, now you can buy me something else because I've already.
She's like, "Do you want another game?" I'm like, "Well, it's about to buy Outer Worlds, so you can buy that." She's like, "Okay." Then
that's why nobody buys me games for Christmas, because I buy what I want when I want them, and
there we
I'm
go.
fine with that. Yeah.
The only other thing recently, I picked up Black Friday. Resident Evil 2. I really wanted to play that because the price was good. It was $20 most places, but getting
I think it's like that on Steam right now too.
All like 7 local GameStops, none of them had it. All sold out. And I went Black Friday. I kind of went like out at like 1 p.m., 2 p.m. So that was all gone. I think eventually one of my local GameStops, they did have a copy that someone had like not picked up, so I was able to get that. But I was like, couldn't get it at Target. I think it was on sale at Best Buy too. Couldn't get it at Best Buy.
The only thing I bought on Black Friday was I bought a Steam controller because they were $5.
Just always $5. It's
yeah.
So
well, they're
like how many.
The thing about it.
Up?
Well, the thing about it is now they're discontinued. So
yeah.
They're gone.
They've said that before.
Yeah, so I was like, you know what? For $5, I'll buy it and go, this is really cool. And then I'll set it over here.
They're going to have a new Steam controller that'll look very similar to the old one, probably.
That would not surprise me.
Emptied their warehouses of all the ones that they already made.
That would not surprise me.
I bought a couple games for, gifts and stuff from niece and nephew because they're big into the Wii. So I got stuff that was used for them because buy one, get one at GameStop. And more video games is always good. I think.
Didn't even go out and go shopping Black Friday.
I did buy Spider-Man Game of the Year because it was $15.
I bought it for.
I was going to buy the DLC, but I'm like, well, $15. I'll just take that. Get all physical.
Yeah, well, it's still a download code in the box.
Touche. I think the DLC was all on sale too, and I'm like, well, then I can give my other copy to somebody that wants to play it.
Yeah, so I bought it for our nephew.
Oh, I bought Scribblenauts Unlimited as well for Switch. Now I think that includes the Scribblenauts DC game, which is really fun because you can write in all sorts of weird, crazy superhero stuff.
Right.
So I figured that'd be fun to play. But other than that, like there were a few other things on my list, but nothing amazing. So.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, we've talked a lot about games that we've played, so
we have
rush through the news real quick.
I just threw another one on.
I saw it on there. I'll get to it in a second because I've already clicked on the link to the XO19 or whatever they call it. So Microsoft had that. It was like, what was that? About a week or about the middle of the month, I guess, middle of November. A lot of new things coming to Games Pass. All the Final Fantasy games. The first 3 games of the Yakuza series is coming to Xbox.
Oh my
Game
God.
Pass. Yeah, I know.
Yay.
That was the big shocker for me.
Phil Spencer's out here doing the Lord's work.
Yeah,
I
he
promise.
really is. He is making it to the point where it's like, well, you know what? There was a whole reason why for a while I bought a PlayStation 3 just for the Yakuza games.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
100%.
You know, and now it's like, well, you know, if Xbox tantalizes me enough the next time, I might actually go Xbox next gen as my main.
Right now, that's what my outlook's looking like. I'm be honest with you.
I mean, with Game Pass and with, you know, stuff like that, it's like, well, you know, if you could get me Yakuza, if you could guarantee me Yakuza,
That's all I wanted. Because that's honestly, like, at this point, like, that's all that was really keeping me on PlayStation. And well, here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Still got 3, 4, 5, and 6, but you know, who knows? That may come later. There was a lot of cool games. That West of Dead looked really cool. That new Rare game, Everwild, looks very pretty.
Very interesting.
It's not coming to the end of next year, so you know, the trailer looked cool.
I wonder if Everwild is just going to be Sea of Thieves, but fantasy world.
I could live with that. I could live with that. So.
But
I don't know if they'd want to make the same game again.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, you know, I'm being very, very simplified on
Right.
Also, is it going to be like Sea of Thieves in that, hey, when it comes out, it's kind of empty, and then we fill it up over time, and then eventually people are like, oh, hey, here's all the content that we expected at launch? Or will they take their time on it, and it's going to be until it actually comes out?
Right.
I think they'll take their time on it. I think that was one of those things where,
so.
you know, they, especially at the time, like, you know, that was still a transitional period for Xbox, you know, really trying to get back on their feet. And that was just one of those things like, okay, we need an exclusive and we need it out now. So Sea of Thieves was one of those that just unfortunately got caught. And it was just, all right, just send it out. You know, it's a live service game anyways. We'll add it as we go.
Yeah, we'll update it.
But I think next time, especially with them owning so many stuff, they've done nothing but buy studios now the last couple months. So I think they're good. I think now Rare can breathe and just really take their time with this one. And I also have a feeling this is very much going to be a Scarlet game. I don't think this is
I don't think it's going to be or maybe one of those cross,
probably.
I don't think so. And we were talking about xCloud. They've actually added a lot of new games to xCloud, Madden, Tekken, Devil May Cry. There's like 50 games available now, not just...
It's insane. I don't even know why I buy games anymore, to be honest with you.
No, it's getting to be a little crazy. Half-Life, how do you say that? Half-Life... Alex? Is that how you say it? I've never...
Yeah.
It's just one of the characters.
It's a character from Half-Life.
That's right.
She's great.
Yeah, she's another one, just two.
And I didn't... I was like, is that Alex? But it's a VR...
No, it's just Alex.
Yeah. And it's a VR game that's coming.
This is exciting and infuriating all at the same time.
That's what I was going to say.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
The trailer looks kind of cool, but I'm like, I don't have any VR.
Yeah.
And you can do it on multiple headsets, but like to do it, like get all the cool stuff they're gonna pack into it, you're gonna want to get the Valve Index, which means I'm gonna have to drop $1,000 to get the set with all the controllers and everything in it. I'm like, I ain't doing that.
No.
But like, it looks really cool. It's set between Half-Life 1 and 2, and it's all about like Alex, and it's gonna have like her father in it. I'm gonna assume there's gonna be a few of the other like main, Half-Life characters will show up in it. It's supposedly a full-length game that's about as long as Half-Life 2, which is a fairly lengthy game.
Yeah.
Especially for VR, it would feel like a really long game compared to pretty much anything that's been out, except for maybe that one RPG that I'm forgetting the name of now that just came out or is like not out yet. I forget. It's like the weird Norse God of War-ish looking thing.
Yeah.
Like a god and you possess bodies. Now I can't remember the name
I
of it.
can't either. I know
really
exactly what you're talking about, but I can't remember.
If there was a game that would make me want to get VR, it would maybe this Half-Life thing, but no, not for how much it would cost to get into.
Yeah, it seems really cool.
I want more Half-Life. I love this universe so much. And
I've got a
this is what you're giving
friend
me?
who's probably going to get it, and I'm like, all right, I'll just go to his house and play it then.
Yeah. Unless it comes to PlayStation VR, that's the only way I'm going to play it because I'm not
the same. Yeah,
I don't have a PC that's going to run VR. I'm not going to upgrade a PC. I'm not
PlayStation
going to...
VR
I know it
cannot
won't.
do this
No,
game.
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the
Not
only
with
way.
the way Valve is the only reason they're probably doing it. So A, we'll put the Half-Life name on it so that it will sell and get people's attention. But B, we want to mess with VR and do as much techie weird stuff with, especially our own gear that we can,
Right.
to give people a reason to buy the hardware.
Yeah, and I'm not in doing all that.
I mean, it does give them a nice sidestep that, like, okay, Half-Life 3 at this point is a joke.
Yeah.
That, like, it will never ever come out because there's no way it could live up to anybody's expectations. So they kind of sidestep that with this.
Yeah.
Maybe if this, like, breaks the ice and people are like, oh, Half-Life is just a thing, they can come out with something else that's an actual, like, everybody can play this game, not just the few people who can afford the VR setup or have a friend who has a VR setup. It's like, they've really narrowed the potential audience for this game.
Yeah.
Even if it looks really awesome and it's that killer app that everybody wants, not everybody can afford to get the VR stuff that's required for this. Even if you get like some of the Oculus ones or whatever, that you'd still be spending less. It's not cheap.
Yeah, no. No, it's not. Yeah, I was kind of, a new Half-Life announcement? Oh, it's VR only. Oh. It was kind of...
That was like my thing too. I was like, oh, this is cool.
Why
is it only VR?
Yeah.
This sucks.
So weird. I threw this next story in here just for anybody that might be interested in it. Xbox All Access is now available. They kind of did this with 360 at the end of its life around the holiday season. For essentially $31 a month, for 24 months, you can get a Xbox One X console with 24 months of Xbox Live Game Pass or Game Pass Ultimate. And after the first 12 months, you'll actually be able to upgrade the X to the Scarlet system. And what's cool about that is it's a no-interest APR loan, credit card, whatever you want to talk about. And when you trade in your console towards a Scarlet, it continues on that payment plan for however long it is. So that's pretty cool if you want a easy way to upgrade a console without dropping supposedly $500.
What is Game Pass's Game Pass Ultimate or whatever is
15 a month. Yep, it's 15.
So yeah, for an extra like what 10 something bucks, you get a console.
Yep. And they have different ones. They have the S for $22 or $23. You can even get the all digital one for $20 a month. And if I was somebody who didn't have an Xbox, didn't care about physical media, wanted the Game Pass stuff, I think that all digital thing is kind of the way to go. But of course, over Black Friday, you could get it for $150 and just add Game Pass to it. You know, if you were interested in the Game Pass but not interested in getting a full-fledged Xbox console, seemed to be a good deal.
It's a neat option for some people.
Perfect somebody like a casual gamer. Yeah. That's where I think it appeals for.
Yeah,
make a console into a cell phone.
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right. This next one, the reason I put it in here is because this one really kind of, I don't know. Okay, so Sony has a patent, and they look like cartridges. And what it essentially is well, what everybody is assuming that it is they were talking about these solid state drives for the PlayStation 5. That's what these are. Which in a way kind of worries me, in a way is kind of ingenious, because you could they're thinking that you'll be able to hot swap the hard drives in the PlayStation 5 with these. Now, my question is can I buy a hard drive without buying these? Because here we go with Sony proprietary memory things again. We all know how the Vita went.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
And, the PlayStation Portable and stuff like that with those crazy proprietary memory cards that were way too expensive for way too long and things like that. But that's what they're saying, is that the system probably won't play cartridges, but these are actually the fast solid state drives. And I read something this afternoon that said that apparently a lot of people have seen stuff that Samsung has posted, and Samsung is probably the ones that are supplying the hard drives to Sony, because a lot of their marketing material had PlayStation controllers in it, and they were really hyping up their solid state drives and saying that it was going to be in gaming consoles. They may be in Xboxes as well. They may actually be in both. This kind of worries me with the PlayStation 5, though, because I'm afraid that hard drives are
probably not for the PS5, though, people are saying.
I hope not.
It looks like it's for something else, not for the PS5.
Yeah, I hope not. Are we getting to a point that we really don't need. We need physical media, but do we really need Blu-rays anymore? Are we getting to a point where Flash media is becoming large enough in size that we don't need drives?
Size, yes. Cheapness, no.
I mean,
they're way more complex to produce, and there's like way more chance of like shortages affecting it. That's why you see sometimes like graphics cards or your SSDs and stuff fluctuate in price more, because like all the boards or whatever that they need are all tied up, or there's a disaster somewhere where all these factories are and it changes things. Whereas like DVD,
it's the rainy season.
Blu-rays are still cheap enough to produce that they're not going to be replaced.
Yeah, that's why you see, a lot of your hard drives are made in Vietnam, and that's why during the rainy season the prices go up, because the factories are not open to produce them. That's why you see fluctuations, and even with weather and stuff, it's so weird. Yeah. I cannot wait though till we get to a point where we can just have a game on a terabyte cartridge, or that's what I like about the Switch. I just wish they had them in some bigger ones, but we don't have to, you wouldn't have to download the entire game to the hard drive, because this is what concerns me with the next gen systems. They're talking about backwards compatibility and stuff like that. I've already got 3 terabytes worth of games on my PlayStation 4. If it would end up being a 1-to-1 backwards compatibility, I could just plug those games in and they just work on a PlayStation 5. That immediately is 3 terabytes of storage that I have to have on a system. And if it only has a terabyte in the system, and I have to go get another hard drive, I don't know. It just really...
They don't care about that.
I know they don't care about it.
You are a small percentage of, use cases where like most people just be like, here, I'll put stuff on, I'll take it off, or do whatever.
I don't know.
Or like, I just play Call of Duty, so I just need room for that, or I just play Madden. Like,
there's
still plenty of people who do that, and like maybe with backwards compatibility, it won't matter. If you already have it on a hard drive, you can still just plug it in because they were able to run from a hard drive before. Maybe they still can. And it won't matter from
that's what I'm hoping.
I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll find out hopefully.
Yeah,
but
that's what I hope. And and that's the sad thing, is I don't even have all the games that I own downloaded to that hard drive. I have. That's the sad thing. I would be
surprised if they even have a terabyte in their SSDs, unless they're just willing to jack the prices up for their consoles.
I was going to say, because that would cost half the console right there.
Yeah.
I mean, SSDs are a lot cheaper, so it's a lot more affordable.
They're getting better
for like when you're building your machine or whatever, to like get an SSD that's a terabyte and not spend too much on it. Especially if it's like the ones that are not as fast. They're not the NVMe little M.2 ones. I doubt they're going to be that. In these consoles, they're going to be like the bigger ones that are connected.
Right.
With a SATA one. And like you get some of those style ones from even the Samsung ones that are more expensive than some of the weird off-brand whatever ones.
Off-brand,
They've come down a lot in the last several years, so they could put them in there. But if you're trying to cut costs on building a console, you're not going to put a ton of memory in there. Even with like what they've got with their hard drives on the current gen, they're not putting huge hard drives in them. So why would they put huge SSD?
I don't know. I guess it depends on how big of a hit they want to take. How much of a loss on a console they're going to take, because they're going. They're going to take a loss anyway, regardless of what size hard drive they put in there. Are they going to want take another $100 or $150 loss per console to get it into a house and hope they make it up on the the software licensing side, or
whatever they do, they can't, just because it's a meme at this point. They cannot make it $600. That's just unacceptable.
It's going to be $500. It's going to be.
$600.
I guarantee it's at least going to be $500 at
least.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And I don't know if I'm ready to cough up that. They're going to have to show me a lot when they, whenever they announce these things.
I think this time around and wait until they have some.
Oh wait a minute! You cut out there. I didn't hear that.
I'm going to wait like this time, where until there's like 2 or 3 games on there that I to play, then I look and see how much it costs and if there's any deals by that time or whatever, a year or 2 into the console.
I bought my PS4 pretty soon after it came out, like maybe a month and a half. And first of all, I had 2 consoles that had issues before I got a third one that was 100% fine. But for the first like 6 months, there really wasn't that much. I was like, I need to play this game. I was like,
There was enough for me to get it at launch, just because it was there
I think
was
I played Black
games.
Flag a lot.
There was games that were coming out on both systems, and I was like, well, I'll go ahead and get them on a 4, then I would a 3 or a 360 or whatever, and
they had that deal for a while too, where if you had it on PS3, you could upgrade on it for
Mhm.
PS4 for like $10. I did
Something
that
like
couple,
that,
for that
yeah.
couple games,
For me,
yeah.
it doesn't matter too much unless it's an exclusive, because any multi-platform thing I can get on
That's what
PC,
I've reserved
it
for
will
my
play better
PlayStation 4
there.
now.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is,
So when God of War comes out, or when Zero Dawn,
That's the
something
thing
like
is
Xbox
like,
comes out, that's when I'll pay attention. To
Yeah.
like, okay, do I want?
yeah,
Take my money.
because what made me get my PS4, my Pro to be exact, I didn't jump onto the PS4 bandwagon until the Pro in 2017. We're back to back because I need that system seller. I can't just I need a reason to be there, and so back to back there was 2017. There was Gravity Rush 2, and then Horizon Zero Dawn, and then Persona 5. 1 month, exactly 1 month from each other, and I was just like, well, there it is. All right, take my money then. All right, that's what I needed. So yeah, I don't see myself getting a PS5 at launch either, especially since going from PS3 to PS4, first of all, was not easy. That whole transitional process, no backwards compatibility, and then having 2 separate networks, and I just if they're going to make it
Hopefully that'll be
problematic
easier
like
this
that,
time, though.
yeah,
hope so.
I think so too.
Because they're not going from the cell processor weirdness to something else. It's like architecturally.
But
hopefully they'll be a lot
even
more
something like
similar.
Right.
yeah, but even something like emulation with PS2 classics and stuff like that, where I have so much of my PS3, and then there's only like I could probably count them all on my hand on PS4 that's available on PSN.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, who knows? The rumor I'm hearing is February. That's when they're going to announce everything. So for the PS5, so
Next
That makes
hopefully
sense
by
for both of them.
Probably
Like
October-ish, September-ish is when we'll see the console. Maybe a little bit
November.
later.
It's November or December. They've already said that.
I'm also calling it now because I'm calling it now where I had said this when it was first revealed, because I was like, no way. The reason why we haven't heard of Ghost of Tsushima in a while is because that is going to be a PS5 game.
Yeah.
If it comes out to PS4, I don't know, but I feel like they're just gonna.
It'll be a cross one. Yeah, it'll be a cross.
They'll put it out on both.
Yeah, they'll put
Maybe,
it out. Both.
but
there's a lot of PS4s out there. They want that money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they'll have it on both. It'll be a launch title for the PS5, and it'll come out on PS4 as well. I'm actually friends with one of the developers of it. He just happened to find me on Twitter. Well, he just happened to find me on Twitter because he went to West Virginia. He went to WVU, so so that's how we found each other. So we follow each other on Twitter. And
Studio's doing that again. Is that Sucker Punch?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In the last PS5 news before we go, the dev kit photo that showed up on Reddit is pretty much like all the other weird photos we'd seen of the dev kit. But what's really cool is apparently the patent that came out for the PS5 or the DualShock 5 controller, which amazingly looks a lot like a DualShock 4 without a light bar in it. I don't think you could
tell that this is a different controller from the way it's photographed. It could
No. If you look at the link below, there's the patent drawing from Japan. And it's a little bit.
We've seen the patent drawing. I'm talking about the photo.
Oh, to me, it just looks like it's a little fatter than a regular PlayStation 4. It doesn't have a light bar on it.
It's like, oh, hey, it's a PlayStation controller again.
Yeah, and apparently it's probably everybody's figuring that it's USB-C charging, which would be nice.
So long as it's not a boomerang.
Yeah, as long as it's not that Batman 3.
We're all chuckling at that because we're like, oh.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, I would think if it's got a lot of similarities to a DualShock 5 or a DualShock 4, that you can probably guarantee there's going to be some kind of PS4 backwards compatibility, because, a lot of those, I mean, you could map different things to different buttons, but, other than the lack of a light bar, to me, it looks exactly the same as a DualShock 4. So.
Oh, no. I will totally miss the light bar.
Yeah, I know.
So
daggone that extra battery life. Yeah, I'll really miss that extra battery life.
Quick thing, wasn't the light bar at the very least? I guess you don't really need it because of the gyro, but wasn't the light bar kind of like a necessity for VR? games though.
If you
didn't
used
have
it with VR, yeah. If you didn't have the
motion?
wands, you had to have a DualShock 4 with the light bar. Yes. Yeah,
Okay, so that would be a little weird then with VR games.
Yeah.
But
if it's backwards compatibility with PS4 and it looks a lot like a PS4
would
controller, it probably will just.
Well, if it's just connecting via Bluetooth, you could probably hook a PS4.
That's what I'm guessing. You'll probably be able to hook a PS4 controller up to it.
Nintendo's been doing that for a long time, anyways, with having backwards compatible controllers. So, like, I mean, please, can we just have, especially when the controllers look identical, it's missing a light bar, oh, big whoop. Surely you can make it work.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
like it's pretty much the same PlayStation controller we've had since ever.
Yeah.
So, with minor differences, the form factor is pretty much the same.
The haptic feedback, they're talking like with the with stuff in
Xbox.
it. Yeah, so
like they
the
pack other
Xbox
stuff
and
internally, or it does some other stuff, but like just the way that it looks, it looks like PlayStation controller because they've got that design nailed down at this point. And hey, you see it, it's a PlayStation.
Exactly. If it's not broke, then don't fix it.
They don't want to, change to something completely different, so people look at it and be like, "What is that? I don't know."
I don't know. I don't know what this is. Why don't you tell me the name of the movie that you're looking for?
What's a Star Wars?
Yeah, what's a Star Wars? But all right. So, anything else before we go? I'd say we've covered about everything that I can think of. So,
I do want to make a quick mention.
Sure.
Before we go, I have one quick mention. First of all, how do you guys feel about everything that's been in the big AAA games that have been ported to Switch? How do you feel like they've been treated? Like, I'm talking stuff like Wolfenstein and Witcher 3, and like your personal experiences with them, or even if you haven't played them, just visually, how do you feel about them? Quick question.
Never played any of them. The videos.
How they've been treated, or how are the ports?
Okay,
Is
sure,
that what you're
why
asking?
not?
Yeah, like how are the ports? Yeah, I'm not talking about sales or
It
anything.
depends. Like The Witcher 3, even though there's been some speculation that you can get a better performance out of it on a PS4, Xbox One, PC.
Of course.
Still say it's still worth playing if you've never played the series, especially on the go or on your TV. There is one. So I was trying to think of a game recently where somebody was like really chewing on it. They came to Switch. It was running like garbage. What was it? I can't think of it.
it was one of those Wolfenstein games, wasn't it?
Maybe that. That too. People kind of grumbled about that a little bit. But I'm like, what do you expect? I mean, portable, take it with you. Or
well, and there's a lot of people out there that don't buy Xbox and PlayStation. They only buy Nintendo. So you get what you get. I mean, I bought The Witcher on the Switch just because I was like, holy crap, The Witcher on the Switch?
That's the thing with that one is just like, hey, they managed to running on here. Holy crap! That's
all of it on the cartridge too.
Yeah, and all of it on the cartridge, DLC and everything. And that's the only reason why I bought it was because
I'm not sure how much fits on that cartridge, like size wise.
It's a 36,
it's a 30, 32 or a 30. I think it's a 32 gig. I think it's a 32 gig.
So all of The Witcher on Switch is like 30 something gigs or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's like 80 something on PC, I think.
I don't remember what it is on PS4.
It's probably similar.
I think it is.
The assets, like all the textures and stuff, are probably going to be similar sizes. I would guess.
Just reading a quick article, like the CRPGs that come to Switch, like your Baldur's Gate, things like that. All of those seem to be pretty good, but any of the open world games like Red Faction Guerrilla or Saints Row the Third, they seem to have a bunch of like technical issues. I mean, I'm happy the games are getting ported to Switch. Don't get me wrong. If I read the review and the port is like, then I might be like, well, then I'll just get it on PS4 or PC. But I'm all about more games coming.
One of the ones that I was really disappointed with was that Bloodlines. Is that what's called the Castlevania game that come out?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Bloodstained.
Bloodstained.
Yeah. What a disaster.
The Switch version was garbage compared to all the other ones. Now they've recently done a patch that fixed a lot of that stuff, but at the same time, it was like, man, you're kidding me that you polish it so much on Xbox, PC, and this, and then you just kind of throw it out on the Switch. That one was one that I got in the mail, played it for 5 minutes, and went, nope, not until they fix it. So
I definitely can see your irritation for that. It's like, all right, so it runs great on the other systems. How come I get the short end of the stick on the Switch?
Yeah, and there was no reason for it not to run better than what it did on the Switch. Other than
a game like that was perfect for the Switch too, and that was the biggest disappointment. So, yeah, I played it and beat it on Xbox One because I can't do this on the Switch. No way. I made it 2 hours into the Switch, and I was surprised I even made it that long.
I didn't even make it that long. I didn't even make it off the boat, and I went, nope, this is.
Oh, you didn't make it off the boat? Okay, that's like that's opening sequence.
Yeah, that was opening sequence. I just went, nope, this looks like garbage compared to what I've seen on the other ones. This is
that game. It's a shame too because I've told anyone and everyone that I know that game. I love that game. Yeah. That game is amazing. That game is brilliant. Yeah, and it's a shame that people on Switch, especially if you only own a Switch, it's just practically unplayable.
Yeah, it's not fair.
Seeing that game on like the other systems, like videos of it, how did they not get it on Switch? Because it's not doing anything crazy.
They just didn't take the time, and that's what they said. Yeah. They said they just didn't take the time. They didn't think it was going to be the Switch was going to be that big of a priority.
Oh,
is what
God,
they said.
Or maybe they're like,
by the time that you would have had that, you would have known.
Oh yeah, you would have known.
They just didn't want to development for that long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one really cheesed me off.
Well, the reason why I asked that question is because I just want to make a quick shout out to Alien Isolation, which is coming out soon on Switch. It comes out on December 5th. Yeah. Now, the reason why I want to bring that up is because I've been playing it again on PC because this year is the 40th anniversary of Alien, and I love that series. I love that film, and I love Alien Isolation. I've played it a bunch. I've watched so many speedruns of it. I love watching that game as much as I love playing it, which is a lot. And I've been playing it on Switch, and I think that is one of the best conversions I've seen so far out of any third-party big, beautiful game like that. Because that game has held up well. It's still gorgeous, and it looks identical on Switch than just like on any other console, PS4, Xbox One included, and it is 720 native on handheld and 1080p native on docked. It is 30 FPS. It's very stable, and it's incredible. And I can't believe that a game like that even exists right now on the Switch. And then I look at it and I'm just like, I don't understand. Actually, I know I do understand because it's just like the case with Bloodstain, where it's just like they just didn't take the time and effort. But Alien Isolation, that conversion is so well done, and that game being as beautiful as it is and looking 1-1 as it does on all the other current gen systems, PC included, is insane to me.
Well, and it's one of it has to do with the company that they hired to port it over. I'm trying to find who it was. That Feral Interactive, I think, is who it is.
That sounds familiar.
They are known for their ports of games from one, the ports that they've worked on from one system to another.
Taking the time to get it right.
They take their time to get it right. And I think that has a lot to do with it, is who you get to do the port of it. You look at Diablo 3 for the Switch, and the company that that Blizzard got to do the port of that, they knew what to do with it and how to do it. Yeah, they nailed it on it. And I think that has a lot to do with it. Kind of goes back to the one thing that you were talking about, with Game Freaks. Let somebody else handle it. Don't do it in-house.
It's amazing that a game like that also, by the way, still has frame drops. Pokemon, which is insane. It gets egregious sometimes. It's
we didn't. I never got anything about a review code for that one. I was kind of upset. I was hoping we'd get a review code for it,
but yeah, I just wanted to make a quick mention of that, and I really hope there's a physical copy that comes out, because I would love to have that on a cartridge. Actually, I don't know if Midrun's doing it, but I haven't seen anything. It's $35 digitally.
I wanted to say it was, but maybe
I hope
I'm
so.
remembering
I'll buy it.
wrong. Yeah, if there is, I'll definitely buy it physical.
Because I mean, and the thing is, like, I had to look back on. I was like, yeah, that game came out in 2014, but like that game is still absolutely stunning. And the fact that you're playing something like that on what is effectively mobile hardware. Again, I can't play through that game and not have my mind blown. It's insane.
I think part of it is that game isn't as technically demanding. It's just got a very strong art direction in it, and that's part of what makes it successful.
But the lighting,
so they're probably cutting. They're probably cutting some corners with polygons or something here and there, but they're doing it in a smart enough way that you don't.
It's very clever.
On the Switch, so if you take your time, you can make it look good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've heard lots of everybody that's played it so far. That's all I've heard is good things about how the port is good. So I'm kind of anxious to. I'll probably hold off and see if there's a physical version coming, but I'll definitely pick it up.
I hope so.
I would prefer a physical version, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So. All right, guys. Well, we're going to call that a show. Thank you very much for listening and hanging out with us.
Yep.
Hopefully, we'll be able to do another one in 2 weeks. We'll see how things go. I know Christmas is coming up, and people are going out of town, having company come over, things like that. So we'll see how things work out. Just follow us on Twitter as always, and I'll try to get it out as quickly as possible to let everybody know when we will be recording. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks again, and have a good one.
See you later.